If it got on me, I didn't like kill it. I shipped it, so, or something, but,
They're pretty good size if they nail you sideways.
oh, and you, probably you didn't even see it coming, did you, Willis?
No, it was, it was a surprise, yeah.
Yes.
It was a surprise. Yes.
Yes.
If you saw it coming, he would have moved.
Yeah, I know, it's bad. Some of those things are a surprise.
Is Chris Whidden on? Is Chris here
Is
today?
it 7 o'clock, Brandon?
Yeah, it should be one of the callers.
Is it 7 yet?
Gotta be.
Yeah, I'm shooting.
Yep, 7. Yes, sorry.
Sapper a text because I don't see Sappa. I don't see Sappa. So I'm gonna go ahead and record it here in the case that.
Tell me when you're ready.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Nice.
This conference will now be recorded.
I'm not ready.
We're not live anymore.
He-
Should be. There's a new employee at Sappa. Jared left Sappa.
Right.
So, yeah, Ace is the new director, and she might be. This is her first meeting, I think.
Okay.
So she might be learning how to.
So do you have the control, so you turned it on and then you reset it to turn it back on, or do they actually?
We can record it from our end as well. So that's what we just did.
Yeah, I thought that's probably what you did. You shut it off to turn it back on.
Yep.
Yes. Yes. Okay, everybody ready? I'm gonna call the meeting to order. We do have to take up a public hearing, but I'd like to make a brief statement for Martin Hall here. And we're gonna take it up a little bit later, but Brandon and I have been talking consistently with the governor's order of groups of 10 or less people. And that's an advisory, but there was 122 positive tests again today. I think it was the third highest or whatever. It's raising a lot of concerns, and we are trying to, we're trying to navigate our way through at least Wednesday, where we have a tax quarterly payment to make it easier. We thought it was not such a good thing to shift gears and maybe close this hall to the public in such short notice, because we do need that tax quarterly payment to come in. I don't know how many people actually come in and give checks, but he's developing a plan with the staff. I think the ballot box outside is going to be able to receive money. So we're going to try to lessen the traffic to come in here. I just wanted to make that clear in case somebody sees this on TV, that we're trying to get through this at least the Wednesday before we make another decision.
Brandon, you gonna take cash in that box? I don't.
No cash.
Okay, it doesn't say that on the box.
So, right?
There's been some times that there's cash in there, but it's not preferable.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did ask Brandon to, we will post up something on the town's website to try to coordinate. I think something went up on the town's Facebook site today.
Yes.
Okay, good. So we're trying to get together here to try to limit the traffic in Martin Hall, but still collect through this quarter. And then we may revisit whatever the rules are for appointments or something to do with upstairs at Martin Hall. I just wanted to say that first.
Concerned that nobody puts cash in there.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's I know, we're just trying to work through whatever the payments are gonna be. Okay, we'll take up comments again after that. I just wanted to open the meeting that way. So we do have tonight, it was warned for a public hearing on the zoning bylaw updates. We had 11 of them that we've warned this for, and I don't know if, Brandon, you want to do this, or is Chris Whidden online as well? Our zoning administrator?
Chris?
Has he plugged in yet? Not yet?
It should be.
If he hasn't, we'll join that. Would you like to walk us through then? I don't want to,
Yes,
we're on a tight schedule here, and I want to
So,
keep going through.
the Planning Commission is proposing updates to the Weathersfield zoning bylaws to better achieve the objectives in the 2017 town plan. And those zoning amendments include the revitalization of the village centers in Perkinsville and Escutney. To do this, the Planning Commission has met as a group to develop each of the following bylaws. Bylaw number 1, home-based occupation and home-based business, section 4.5. 2, definitions, article 7. 3, small enterprise. 4, formula business. 5, off-street parking. 6, groundwater protection ordinance. 7, removal of contractor storage use. 8, signs. 9, outdoor lighting. 10, waivers. And 11, section 6.10.1, the application. After considerable discussion and examination by the planning commission, they approved each of those above-mentioned zoning bylaw updates. So the planning commission has moved it over to the select board to hold a public hearing. That public hearing was warned 2 meetings ago, and tonight is the public hearing to review those zoning bylaw updates.
Are there any comments from, let me take this up first. Are there any comment?
I was just gonna, did you open the hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
I-
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thank you.
So are there any comments on the 11 zoning bylaw changes or updates? And if there's somebody online that would like to speak, just jump in, and then I'll recognize you, or if there's somebody who wanted to comment on that, because we need to offer some time before, well, the board can do it as well, but I wanted to make sure that if there was somebody calling in with specific questions or something about this, that we'd be taking them now. Is Chris on now? Chris Whidden, are you there?
So we have connected via text. He said he's trying to talk, but no words are coming out on our end.
Okay. So can he do that by another means, or is it only by audio?
I believe just by audio.
If he could, he might be able to call in, and then we would whatever, have his input or whatever he wanted to say by your phone, and just put it on speaker or something like that, right? Are there any other comments from the board on these zoning updates?
I have one I'm trying to get to, so if there's anybody else wants
Okay.
to go ahead. As soon as I find it, I will point it out to you.
Do you have the next step here? So
Yes.
when and if we come to the time of choices to make, we can close the hearing or recess the hearing to another day, right?
Correct.
Okay, then do they become, let's say, for instance, just for a matter of point, that we close the hearing, then what? We need a motion from the board to adopt the zoning bylaws as presented?
Correct.
Okay, or if it's recessed, we don't take any action?
Correct.
Okay, good. Everybody gets that, right? Okay, so this has been a process, I just want to recap, this has been a process of a couple of years now of the planning board taking testimony and trying to take each one of these 11 bylaws or whatever, descriptions or whatever they are, definitions, and placing them in the new town plan, which they're continually working on. Or every 5 years, I think the town plan needs to be updated. And they work hand in hand with regional planning.
Yep.
Generally speaking, Jason Rasmussen, right?
Yes.
Yes,
He is our contact.
yep. So, again, I just want to make sure that we have opportunity for anybody to make comment on these
Mr. Whidden has joined the meeting.
in your phone.
Yes.
Okay, Chris, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, do you have any comment? I mean, we haven't heard anything. Just Brandon had listed them off. But would you like to make any comment on these zoning? I mean, you've been here for a short time, so obviously for not the 2 years or whatever that Paul and Mike and the rest of the planning board has worked on, but if you have anything to say, we'll take that testimony now.
The only really the comment that I have to make is that, Planning Commission worked really hard on these. It's been reviewed a couple times by them, and, they're gonna be really good. They do support the town plan, and, they have my office support, of course.
Okay, thank you. Did you, Mike, did you have?
I have found it and I am prepared. If everybody goes to like number 4 in your binder and then come back 2 pages.
What's the page number?
There isn't one.
It's
That's why I did it this way.
Second to last in item 4.
Yeah, second to the last page. Sorry, John.
Not that
So,
easy
so
finding the
it's
second.
attachment D, yeah, can we, well, mine have numbers on the bottom, they're like 12 and 10, and do you have on the
Like I
bottom?
said,
Russ?
Start
Dave,
over
Dave,
again.
you got yours still in the binder?
Yep.
Go all the way to 4.
Okay.
Come back 2 pages.
Okay,
It's where, it's like 4.5,
Yes.
4.3,
Yes.
home-based business
Yep.
level 1.
That's
Okay.
correct. That's exactly right. That's where we're at.
okay, good, I got it. Go ahead, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. So if you read section C of 4.53.1A, home-based business, section C, occupies a maximum building area of 1,500 square feet. The area allocated to the home-based business may be in an existing residential structure or in a new outbuilding. It can also be an existing outbuilding. The planning commission, when they wrote that, assumed, I think we assumed that would indicate that it could be an existing as well. I want to point out to you, if you go to the next section, section C also, which is the last page, it clearly states a home-based business may not necessarily, I'm sorry, before, the area allocated to the home-based business may be in an existing residential structure or in a new or existing outbuilding. The language should be the same in both of those. And I don't believe that's a substantial change
Okay,
to
so,
the
so,
bylaw.
so for clarification then, on section, I think we should change, if you're interested in changing that now, I think we should do it now, and make an
Yes.
amendment to the section that you're talking about.
That's
So we
correct.
don't lose track of it, to include those words of new or existing outbuilding, right?
In section C of 4.5.3.1.
Yep. And I'll concur with that. I do believe that was our plan. And
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I missed that one too.
It's the second to last page.
Okay.
It's under attachment D.
Yeah. Second to last page from 4.
So,
I think for the minutes, it has to be, 4.5, 3.1, letter C.
Yep.
Is everybody okay with that? Because if we turn the page, it actually says that. So
Yeah.
it's actually making the correction one page earlier.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, but they're two different things. One's home-based level 1, the other's level 2, but it's in level 2, but it's not in level 1, but it's meant to be.
Section C to say the same thing there that it says on the next page.
Can somebody make a
I'll make a motion that we amend,
4 point, well, hold it,
Yeah, I was waiting
before
for her.
DeForest gets done for the record.
Right here. C, section C. Yeah, but not, it doesn't say. Oh, there. Outbuilding. Yes.
Mics have mutes like the debates.
Huh?
These mics have mute buttons like the debates. Turn people off.
all right, I'll make a motion that we amend 4.5.3.1, item C, to read, instead of just a new outbuilding, to read a new or existing outbuilding.
Second.
Did you get the clarification of that identity, DeForest? Did you get did you get the actual description of that zoning bylaw? Because that's really important. 4.5-3.1.
Yep.
So I would be able to cite it in
Yep.
the minutes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good catch, Mike.
So the motion's been made and seconded to amend, okay, what actually, is it provision, is it section 4.5 or is it,
4.53.
okay. section 4.53 C to read new, or at the end of the sentence, new or existing outbuilding.
Correct.
And that amendment is in the zoning bylaw updates for tonight's review on the warned hearing.
Yep.
Yes. Any discussion about that amendment, that sentence? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Are there any other comments about these zoning proposed updates? Hearing none, I'm going to close the hearing. Anybody online? I want to make sure anybody's online to,
No text,
Say anything
I mean,
about
no chat or anything?
nothing.
Take a peek at the chat. Nothing in the chat.
Okay, I'll accept how's this? I'll accept a motion to close the hearing on the zoning bylaw I can close the hearing? Okay, I'm going to close the hearing then for the proposed 11 zoning bylaw update changes that are noted in the agenda. Would the board like to adopt these changes? And if so, someone can make a motion tonight to do that with the hearing being closed.
I'd like somebody else to make the motion. I'm the chair
Okay.
of the planning commission.
Oh, that's why I was indicating you, but that's an
well,
acceptable reason to say no, too.
I can, but I also would like, if everybody's happy, I didn't mind making the motion to amend what we'd already talked about, but as the chair, I'd like somebody else to make the motion.
I will make a motion to adopt the 11 bylaws listed in the agenda and in the warning for tonight's hearing, and adopt these bylaws as permanent additions to the zoning bylaws, Weathersfield, Vermont.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to adopt the following bylaws, which we just completed a hearing, and I'm going to read them for the record. Home-based occupation and home-based business, section 4.5. Definitions, Article 7. Small enterprise. Formula business. Off-street parking, section 3.5. Groundwater protection ordinance. Removal of contractor storage use. Signs, section 3.8. Outdoor lighting, section 3.6. Waivers, section 6.9. And section 6.10.1, application. For the record, that's on the table. Is there any discussion on the motion on the table to approve the zoning bylaw changes as noted?
Got a quick question. In the past, we've done interim bylaws, and I'm just kind of curious as to when we decide they're interim, because these are permanent. And we had a choice, we could send them to the voters. I don't have any problem with what we're doing, but when do we choose to go to interim?
Interim, if I...
Yes.
Only good for 3 years, 2 years?
I think it's only one.
2 years on an interim. But an interim bylaw is actually by statute used to rectify a problem, an immediate problem. It's a temporary fix that you're supposed to go back and deal with in your bylaws. This is work done by the Planning Commission with the intent of updating the zoning bylaws and getting them in line and consistent with the town plan that was adopted in 2017. So it's.
That was a good explanation.
Yeah.
I think it's by choice, though. I think we can do it, we can choose not to do it, not the interim, but I'm talking about whether or not I think it depends
If
on.
you do an interim, then you're right back to
Yes.
2 years from now doing.
No, I meant like with the town plan and with other things, we could choose to go to the voters.
You can, yeah.
You can,
Yeah,
you can.
but-
You could, if you wanted to, not saying, but you could pull one out and say,
Yes.
okay, this one,
Yes,
we don't want to make full, we want whatever, but,
Yes. you can, yes. The motion has been made and seconded to approve the zoning bylaws noted for tonight, though. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, good. We've got about, I had wanted to be more on a schedule because we have a 7:30 appointment. Do you have something to fill the time? I just asked Paul what time it was, he said 7:20, but I'm glad to go right into that. I see a name although I've not met him, but that's the appointment that we've got. Do you want to go right into finance, Brandon?
I'd
Or do you want to wait?
So Rosalie is actually coming on. I'm going to introduce her
Okay,
first.
okay.
So if the select board wants to take up the minutes,
Yep,
she
can
should
I,
be logged in.
yeah, let me do the, how about, I'll just go to number 3. So are there any comments from the board on topics not on the agenda?
No.
Nothing? Okay. Anything from you, Brandon? Topics not on the agenda, comments? Are there any citizens online that have comments on items that are not on the agenda? Okay, thank you. My only comment is thank you, DeForest, for doing such a good thing down at the Veterans. And it's really hard to pull off with so many restrictions that are going on, but that's always a very fun gathering to watch people come there. And there was one guy I know over by me, and he was getting really, really choked up, and he'd been somewhere where we don't want to be. And so it's very good. Yes. Can we take up the minutes of November 2nd?
Move to approve.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded to approve them. Everybody's running. How about a third? Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of November 2nd. Is there any discussion? They're all just perfect, right?
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Good. Okay, Brandon, you're up. We'll start.
All right. So I'd like to introduce our newest member to our team in Weathersfield, Rosalie McNamara. She's on here today. I think you're muted, Rosalie.
Not anymore?
Still can't hear you.
Is the microphone on?
Yeah, do you have to oh no, it shows the
Unmute
screen.
her.
Shows the screen.
I think you've got to, right?
Probably the same thing Chris was having problems with.
We got problems with sound.
Yourself.
Okay, mute. Unmute. Nothing?
No.
Uh-oh.
Come.
Can we hear from anybody? Oh, we heard from Willis. Willis was able to talk.
Can we still hear Willis? No, we can't hear Willis now either.
Uh-oh.
Good.
Yeah, this isn't going to be good. We need to test. Testing.
Okay, everybody else can hear
Oh.
except for us.
Oh, okay.
So have you got, it must be, did you hit any buttons on your end? Or, I mean, if everybody else can hear them, but we can't hear.
That's,
Yep,
Lip reading.
100, or sign language.
Yeah, you might move to a different.
all right, go ahead and try talking again. Yeah, I think it's yours. I think are you hitting a button?
No.
Keeps going down on your end. That's weird.
Whose end?
It's like,
Or they're both.
it's like it's shorting out, right?
Both of them.
Where you would see some kind of a reaction. It's like it's shorting.
The newfangled tech.
What happens if you turned that off, Brandon, and just like only had one on?
That's weird. Huh?
It's off.
So it just goes right down.
I'm doing
Turn it off.
this. Is it off?
Hey, let's a little bit.
Technology. It's wonderful.
Something.
Yeah, Suzanne said she can hear her, so, yeah, same thing. We just can't hear at this end. Thanks for bearing with us, guys, for a minute.
What if they yell?
It'll hurt my feelings.
You only have one left.
That's right.
The equipment looks fancy.
Yes.
Funny part is, it was
It's-
working a minute ago.
Yeah.
Hey, try to go ahead and talk now. Nothing.
Willis, can you hear us? Wave. Nice, okay. Our problem is we can't hear any of you guys, huh? Uh-oh. No signal.
Uh-oh.
Oops.
So hey, just stay on your computer until I get on my computer.
I hear somebody talking? You hear it out of your computer. Willis, can you say hi or something, or somebody?
Okay, now go ahead and shut yours off. Just out of it. All right, Rosalie, try again. Oh.
The meeting is ended. It's over.
You're the one that said you wanted to be on a schedule. That's what did it.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, everyone.
Everybody's gone.
Yep, they're all gone.
Now what?
Log back on.
Beam me up, Scotty.
All right, let's give
Tell
everybody.
you what, don't ask me to fix it.
Oh, me either. No way.
Who can sing?
If anybody's out there, you gotta redial and plug in again.
No, I can't. You don't even want to go there.
Caller number 1 came on, whoever that is.
I could play drums.
Hey, caller number 1, can you talk, please? Okay.
Oh, yes.
There we go. We're
Hi,
making some
Suzanne.
progress. Looks like everybody's coming back in.
There's Willis.
What the?
Isn't that a thing?
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
You're moving it, Brandon. Okay. Yep.
Chauncey's back on.
Hey, Willis, can you talk?
I can talk, can you hear?
Nice. We're all set.
Wow.
It turned off and then I had to rejoin the meeting.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Now we can hear you. Good. Nice.
Okay.
All right, let me get Patrick back in.
That's weird, because nobody touched that.
That was really weird, right?
Olivia, don't do that again.
Yeah.
But it was a control on that, wasn't
No,
it?
that's what I'm saying. Nobody touched that,
But he
yeah.
moved a dial and then,
Regular old fashioned.
Joey touched, I saw him.
yeah, exactly.
I didn't want to hear from anybody.
It's like ESP. It's ESP.
What you do in a race car? You take the headphone,
Yeah, you
toss
just
it.
unplug the helmet.
Pass me that little thing. Yeah.
Doesn't work here though.
Oh, it wasn't even your computer. It was this thing right here.
Yes.
All right.
Well, we're almost right on time.
All right, Rosalie, we're ready for you now.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Awesome.
Hallelujah.
Yay. Well, hi everyone. It's great to meet you. As Brandon said, my name is Rosalie, and I'm excited to join the team at the Weathersfield Town Office. What else do I say? This past May, I got my degree in political science. I've always wanted to work in local government, especially in Vermont, where I grew up, so I'm very excited to be here.
Where'd you grow up, Rosalie?
Cavendish, Vermont.
Wow. Awesome.
Stone throw.
Yeah.
Exactly. I pretty much grew up in the Cavendish Town Office. My mom has worked there since I was 5, so been around local government for most of my life.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions for Rosalie?
What position is she?
Executive Assistant to Finance.
So did you have a schedule of when is she starting, or go ahead and tell everybody that.
So she started today. She's just coming in, she had to put her 2-week notice in at her current employer. So this week, she's just working tomorrow and Thursday, and then Monday she starts her regular schedule, which is 9 to 4, Monday through Thursday. So we've developed a training plan for her, and we introduced her to the first week of that plan today. Suzanne and I are developing the plan for week 2 training and so forth. So we plan on giving her that on Monday.
Any other questions? So, and I'm sure that schedule may change, or I don't know. You're in charge of that, not us. So,
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Rosalie.
Of
Welcome.
course, thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Yep. Okay,
Thank
Brandon.
you.
Okay, Brandon. Next up.
Yeah, I think Patrick's joining the meeting now. He's just logging back in.
Okay.
Thanks, sorry about that.
All right, Patrick, we're ready for you.
Alright, sorry guys, I had to get smarter than go to a meeting for a minute. Brandon, what I thought maybe we could do, gentlemen, is, I don't know, I know you all have received a copy of my one-pager, and maybe just start out to find out, before I kind of go into budgeting and some common best practices in both municipal and just private sector budgeting, find out from you if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, anything that maybe you want me to talk about as far as my background goes, and then I'm more than happy to go through. I just have a couple slides to walk through what a potential budgeting cycle could look like.
I don't have any comment other than Brandon and I chat pretty closely, and he says that you walk on water.
I keep telling him that is the biggest mistake he's gonna make.
Well,
There's pallets of money under that
well,
water, though.
we'll see how deep the water is, right?
Trust me when I tell you, the water ain't that deep.
Okay.
I'm originally from upstate New York, and that water turns to ice really quickly, so tread lightly. All right, well, Brandon, why don't we go through the slides? So Brandon reached out to me. I've known him for quite some time. We worked together for a bit of time here in Pembroke. I was on the school committee here in Pembroke for about 13 years and had been through 15 different town budget cycles because I was pretty involved before I joined the committee. So, what I'm going to do tonight is just really kind of go through, based on my conversations with Brandon, really a couple of different types of budgeting styles towns and municipalities and different organizations employ, talk about the pros and cons of both of those, make a recommendation, which I think you all want to get to anyway, and then really kind of talk about what some of the benefits are in next steps. The most important thing that I'd love for you all to be thinking about as I go through this, though, is where do you see the town in fiscal year 22? Because that is probably the critical question to figure out what the best budgeting approach ultimately will be for the town of Weathersfield. Brandon, you want to just advance the slide, please?
Yep.
So there are multiple different kinds of budgeting and budget types that are ultimately out there. A lot of government entities, I've seen it in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I've seen it here in Pembroke, I've seen it in Fortune 100 companies, it's just a historical rollover approach, which basically says, hey, I'm going to take whatever I did last year and I'm going to add 3%, or I'm going to add 2%, or I'm going to reduce it by 1.5%. It is very much, this is what we've always done, this is what we think we're going to keep doing. It's quick, it's simple, it's easy, it can be a central process. 1, 2, or 3 people can actually perform the process, and for some organizations that makes sense. Other organizations look at a percent of revenue model. So it basically says, I'm going to allow my expenses to be X percent of the revenue that I'm generating or the revenue that I'm bringing in. A lot of small to medium-sized retail outlets do this. They're basically saying my revenue is going to basically dictate what my expenses are, and as a result, my net income is pretty much going to be roughly the same, even though I've got huge seasonality fluctuations. So it adjusts for things like temporary staff. In retail, you have huge spikes for the holiday season, you have huge spikes in the summer season, and it accounts for things like that. And then really the budgeting philosophy that I've worked with the most, that I truly believe is an appropriate methodology, not just in municipalities, but private organizations, is a zero-based or a priority budgeting process. And what that really does is it says, hey, I'm going to start with a clean slate every year. And I'm going to say, what are my strategic imperatives? I'm going to start with strategy. And depending on the strategy and where I'm heading, that's going to dictate where I'm going to expend my financial resources. So it doesn't mean necessarily that you're expending more resources. You may expend the same financial resources, but you may spend less in one area and more in another. You may find that you've got a greater need in one area versus another. The other thing that this does is it really pushes an understanding throughout the town government body, throughout a private enterprise body, to really understand what are the needs that we are trying to fulfill, and what are the resources that we have to fulfill them, and then make a series of priority decisions. Next slide, Brandon. So there's some pros and cons to both, right? The historical and rollover perspective, it's simple, it's quick. You can do it on a budget the size of Weathersfield. You can probably do it over the course of a couple of weeks. You get some input. You basically make the determination of what the percentage amount is based on the revenue that's going to come in. You apply that percentage amount and your budget's done. The problem really comes down to not just a lack of creativity, but a lack of understanding. Everyone just begins to assume, hey, I automatically get a 3% increase of last year's budget. I have to hurry up and spend my budget this year in order to make sure that my budget for next year is going to go up by X percent or X amount. It really doesn't get to what's the strategy behind what we're doing. What are the services that are currently being asked for? And in a time that we've been through over the last 6 to 9 months, you've seen, whether it's the global pandemic, people are out of work, the needs of local government are a heck of a lot more than what they were a year ago, 18 months ago, 5 months ago, or 10 years ago. That's a really difficult philosophy to actually employ. The percent of revenue method, again, it's the same ease that you have from this historical trend or rollover methodology, in that I know what my revenues are, I calculate out my revenues, and I simply apply a percentage of those for staff salaries, snow removal, the various expenses that you may have. It's math, right? It's ultimately math, but it doesn't get into a wider understanding from your department heads. It doesn't get into a wider understanding of what the challenges are that you have. There's not a deeper understanding of, I have capital infrastructure that's going to have to be replaced, and there's going to either be bonding, which is going to have an interest rate effect and an interest expense component down the road. It just sort of assumes that you're in very much a steady state. Both the rollover method and the percent of revenue method really rely on very stable revenue streams. And having seen town government, state government, even national government to a certain extent, I would say the revenue stream is not always stable, and it is sometimes highly dependent on either the political climate, the political landscape, the tax landscape, or those types of things. So both of these methodologies really struggle in a municipal government. It also struggles because folks can basically say, well, I don't know, I just thought it was 2 or 3% more and I just spend it. When you get into zero-based budgeting, all of a sudden you're justifying what you're spending. You're getting to a point where you're saying, well, why are we doing that? What's the reason that we're doing that? Why are we performing this service? Are residents asking for this service, or are we just doing it because we've always done it again? We did this in Pembroke with about a $35 million school committee budget. Like I said, I was on the school committee for 13 years. And it was really interesting because the Pembroke Public School System spent the 9th least in the state per pupil, but offered one of the largest advanced placement offerings of coursework of any school system in the country. We were in the top 600 school systems in all of North America at one point. We had one of the best extracurricular programs, one of the best sports programs. So it wasn't necessarily about the amount of spending, it was about taking a very fiscally prudent approach, taking a zero-based budgeting approach, and really saying, what are our priorities this year? So as an example, the schools one year said, hey, we really want to focus on social emotional learning. We really want to focus on increasing our technology in the classroom or our STEM programs in the classroom. That dictated where the spending occurred in those individual years. And I think taking a bit of a fiscally prudent approach as well as a justifiable approach to where you spend your dollars really paid a lot of dividends. The downside of zero-based budgeting is it does take longer. It takes longer in the sense that a communications plan is a huge piece of what you're going to do. So you're communicating with your department heads. You're listening to your police chief on what his needs are. You're listening to the fire chief on what his needs may be. And then you're making a certain amount of determination. So you're not saying, hey, it's not that those needs aren't important, but they may not be on the top 1, 2, 3, or 4 of the priority list. You really develop priorities and you budget based on those priorities. So you may have a schedule 1, 2, and 3 set of priorities. Schedule 1 priorities are the most important and the most effective. And those, whether you have additional financial resources or even a reduction in financial resources, you may need to figure out a way inside your budget to make sure those are covered. But all of a sudden, what you begin to do is spread the knowledge base that cascades throughout the governmental body so that folks understand why the decisions are being made. The other big benefit, I think, to zero-based budgeting is it requires a lot of updates to you as a select board. It is you as a group of selectmen, and at the same time, it allows the residents a deeper understanding into the financial position of the town. So just as an example, but if you guys got a cut from Montpelier, for example, and as a result you had to reduce the amount of time the transfer station was open, it's not a shock to people because they've heard you talk about it. They've heard you weigh the options of, well, I could cut this or I could cut this. I may need to make a determination of, do I buy, and this is a real life example that I've seen, do I buy tasers and bullets? Or do I actually buy a new truck for the DPW? And you weigh those things in a public session, or you at least have those things vetted to say, okay, we agree, we're going to go with this level of priority, and we're not going to go with this level of priority. It really vets that understanding. I'm going to pause there because I just hit you guys with a lot of data and a lot of information. Any questions on some of that?
How do you prevent department heads for going for the gold ring? It seems to me in zero base that everybody's going to want the most they can get and try to put their best foot forward and try to make their plea for the most money.
Yeah, so it happens, there's no doubt. By the way, you get your list of, I need everything from, gold-plated armor to brand new Suburbans to this, that, and the other thing. It becomes the job then of Brandon, of the finance staff, and of yourselves to say, this is where I believe the priorities lie. So I'll give you an example. A few years back, we were in Pembroke on the school committee, we were very stretched for cash. And it was, hey, we need X number of new teachers, we need X number of social workers, we need X number of counselors, and then we need to replace these textbooks and do these variety of things. And the committee spent a couple of meetings to go through and say, these are the priorities and this is how we're going to do it and this is why. Now, is everyone happy? I don't know that everyone's ever happy when you come out of a budget, but at least there's a decent understanding and folks actually watch the sausage get made a little bit. And there's a huge benefit to that within the community because people begin to realize resources are finite and resources are gold in and of themselves, and you can't always get what you ask for. Just because you ask for it doesn't mean it automatically goes in the budget, and just because it's budgeted doesn't mean it's automatically granted.
Okay.
Paul?
Quick question. And hi, Patrick, this is Paul. How does our current way we do our financing, which I think is accrual? Is that how you say it? Or how do we define what ours is right now? Is it in one of those? It's not obviously zero base, but
This is my first budget season with the town, so I'm not really sure how.
I don't know how we presently usually.
Well,
Kind of a hybrid of the
yes,
two first ones.
it's a combination of accrual and on a cash basis. I mean, it's not, some people owe us money and then we anticipate, but it is
okay.
increasingly more, it's a hybrid, just like John said.
Okay.
But, did you finish?
No, yeah, I was just wondering where ours fit in. I didn't see it like named that there.
Yeah, and
so
I don't know that we have a name, but historically this has happened. So, and I have a question, Patrick. So, we would have budgets, and so I'm curious to know, when you said the zero-based budget, we've thought about this before, but no one's ever really pulled it off. When you say, do you really need $10,000 worth of diesel fuel this year, or like we've been buying diesel fuel fairly cheaply, so as compared to the past? What happens to, at least for the last 3 years, we've had significant surpluses audited at a year end. What happens on a zero-based budget moving forward into the next year? What happens to that? What happens to a surplus that happens to be, it can get up to 8 to 10% of the appropriation. So if our budget was $1 million, we got $100,000 left over.
So not uncommon, by the way, right? I mean, you should have something within your budget that allows for those, I had no idea this was gonna happen moments, right? You know, a boiler blows somewhere, or you know, you need new electrical somewhere, sort of out of the blue that you just can't anticipate. So you definitely need something like that. That doesn't just go away. You know, let me be really clear. So a lot of what I've seen a lot of entities do is, as you're coming to the next fiscal year, you'll encumber funds, right? Which is more of an accrual-based methodology, where you say, hey, I know that I'm gonna have $50,000 at the end of this year, and I'm gonna use that $50,000, and I'm going to issue a purchase order to buy $50,000 worth of supplies, which is gonna help your future year budget. The other way to handle that is, it may go into a rainy day fund, it may go into a surplus cash fund, all of which can be used at a later point in time if you needed to. But it doesn't just, like, it doesn't get returned necessarily to either Montpelier or, you know, to a different entity.
No, because what we've done is a couple of things. Well, first of all, we can't mix general fund money with highway funds. Vermont doesn't allow that. But we have transferred some money in the past into reserve accounts. So you're going down, like you just said. Normally, it's a combination. We would take, for instance, if there was, let's just pull the number of 100,000. We'd take 33,000, reduce taxes. We'd take 33,000 and probably spend somewhere, and then 33,000 would go into a reserve fund. Yes. So that way, everybody hates you.
Exactly. Welcome to local government.
Welcome
right?
to government. Exactly. Yes. No shock there. Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Look, guys, I get it. My kids refuse to go to the grocery store with me. They're like, Dad, it takes you 6 hours to go grocery shopping. I totally understand. But no, so what you just said isn't affected by zero-based budgeting, because remember, the budget's a point in time, right? So we're going to do a fiscal year 22 budget between, let's say, now, and I don't know your timelines yet, but you know, normally it would really be now in early March, depending on the size of the budget. Yours really could be done between now and, I'll say, early mid-January. And you know, you're going to do the budget, and the budget's going to get set. But the other benefit of zero-based budgeting is, because you're widening the understanding of why you're budgeting for what you're budgeting, it makes things like financial analytics later in the year easier. It makes forecasting easier. So what Brandon should be able to do as you go into fiscal year 22 is come and say, hey, here's where we were with the first quarter, here's what the actuals were, here's what the budget was, here's what the differential is, and here's why. And more importantly, here's what I think the next quarter is going to look like. And eventually it'll be, here's what the remainder of the year is going to look like. So that $100,000, you guys should have a pretty good idea come, I'll say, January, February into fiscal year 22, so you've got 3-4 months to sort of plan how you're going to deal with a surplus, or God forbid, if you think that you may have a deficit, you can begin to make the reductions as early as possible, because as we all know, between July and September, July and October, most of the funds are encumbered. If you're making reductions after October, it becomes really hard to do.
We're noticing a little bit of difficulty now because of COVID-19. From the last numbers that I got from Brandon, it's increasing a little bit on the books for receivables. That's a little bit troubling, but probably not unexpected. But we've got to deal with it because we need money to operate. The school needs to be fully paid and the highway is fully paid. So the general fund is the one that is left standing to somehow adjust. Are there any other questions of Patrick, or before he keeps going on? Do you have much left, or?
He's got 3 more.
Okay, yep,
There's just a couple of slides I'm
Yep.
supporting owners for.
yep,
So this is just a general understanding. Ironically, a lot of it we talked about, right? You've got COVID-19 issues that you're dealing with, and wave 2 could very easily come into the beginnings of fiscal year 22 and have an effect on that. School spending could look very differently, right? I mean, the amount of technology that now needs to be procured in order to teach and educate students looks very different. So I'm not going to go into these ad nauseum, but I tried to take a minute, look at where you guys are and why this may work. And then Brandon, if you could just go to slide 5. The whole reason why I look at zero-based budgeting and recommend it for someone like yourselves is it gives you really 3 core things. It gives you an ability to understand not only eventually where you've been, but how where you are today benchmarks where you've been. And it's all the benefits that you get in those first 2 scenarios that I laid out. But then it also gives you the ability to say, okay, if I know where I am and I have an idea where I'm going, why am I looking the way I'm looking, right? Because more people understand I budgeted in this way, I budgeted for this reason, it's much easier for Brandon and Olivia and the team to be able to say to you, here's why we're deviating from the budget, plus or minus. You may get a whole slew of funds in COVID relief, for example. Then the real question becomes, that's great, but what do we have to do in order to keep those funds? So it gives you the ability to do the right financial analytics throughout the year. And then finally, it gives you a stated process that's actually documented. So you as a group of selectmen are no longer hamstrung by, I have to have this person in this role or these 2 people in these roles, because if I don't, we're screwed because nobody else knows how to do this. There's a documented process that relies on strategy, priority, and communications that allows really anyone should be able to come in and pick up your budgeting process and run with it. And then lastly, and I'm definitely not going to go into this too deeply, but it forces people in slide 6, Brandon, to really think through how do we operate, how are we supported, what do these things look like, and it's a bit of a, that slide is a bit of a consultant-y slide from back, I guess, in my Accenture days. But it helps me think through what does your town government and operation look like in order to help guide you through the budget process if this is the path that you decide to move forward with.
Go to the next slide.
Any other questions? John, go ahead.
Yeah, Patrick, right now, we're doing mostly a historical trend rollover with a smattering of revenue models, kind of a hybrid of those 2. In towns or municipalities that you've worked with that have made the transition, how long did it take? And what's driving my question is that we need to be able to present a budget to the voters, or it doesn't come up till town meeting. We have to complete our budget process for 21-22 by the fourth week in January.
Yeah. So here's what happens, right? These things they build year after year after year. So you're not going to get to a fully zero-based budget process in the course of the year. What you're going to do is you're going to lay the foundation, and people are going to begin to understand, hey, this is how it works. It takes literally 2, 3, 4 cycles sometimes for it to happen, and it's as much
That makes sense.
you all getting used to it as it is everybody else.
Any other comments? I mean, perhaps the one thing that I took out of this the most was when you said, which I've always had to do for like the last 40 years, was just because I'm doing something, should I be doing that? Should I look at should I be doing something else? Because I'm not doing it just because I did it last year that way. Things change. People change, technology changes. I don't know. I mean, so I like that a lot.
Yeah, the other thing that I'll leave you guys with is, just because you call something zero-based budgeting, every organization customizes how you do this to yourselves. It's ultimately what works for you and what works for the residents of your town. How do you inform the residents most effectively into what you are doing and what you're planning on doing? And to your point, really taking a hard look at, why am I doing what I'm doing? It is that simple.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything to add,
Yeah.
Brandon, or
Nope.
nothing?
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Patrick.
No, thanks guys, and happy to answer any questions. If you just want to give me a call and say, hey, I didn't understand this, feel free to give me a call.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, guys.
Yep.
See you.
Bye.
Now I gotta figure out how to get out of this. Trying to figure it out the whole meeting.
Does anybody have, can you keep me on time here? What do we got going on?
It's 8 o'clock.
It's 8 o'clock now, okay. The next up is the finance report. Brandon, did you want to take,
I'm just trying to get out of.
do you have a slide, or are we just going to read off our?
Out of this.
Technology.
There we go.
There it is.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
So the report that's within your packet are the budget to actuals from July until October 31st. And the general fund revenue is currently at 33%. The admin budget revenue is at 26%. Personnel is at 30%. And basically what those percentages mean is from July to June 30th. We have a line that was approved for FY21. If that line's $1,000, 30% of that would, be $300. So it's 30% of the line. Expenses are at 38%. I noticed that electricity is high. We're already at 45% of budget to date. So we need to.
okay, run that, so until October 31st, what should the number be? 33 or?
33.3%.
Okay, good. So
Depending
that,
on the expense, I mean.
that's okay. So anytime we look at a line here, it should be at 33.
Yes.
Okay,
But
good.
not for all lines, because, for example, snow removal and buying salt, I mean,
Overtime.
that's not gonna be at
Nope, okay.
percent at this time, but,
Including, so revenue and expense? So if I see a revenue at much higher than 33, okay, all right. But you're saying the target number is 33. Go ahead.
depending on the expense.
Yep, go ahead.
Our county courthouse bond payment was budgeted for $7,900. However, the bill came in at $9,022, so that line's over 14%. Website development, you'll notice that it's over by 43%, but that's the $5,000 earmark that we put in the LGER grant. So once we get reimbursed, that line will reduce significantly. The water district salaries are at 51% to date, and that's because during the water district's annual meeting, when we presented the budget, we requested that the water district increase the allotment to the town because we were transitioning the water district payroll and accounts receivable to the town. So we increased that amount. That's why that's at 51% right now. So that will go over for this year. Admin wages are at 43%. Both the principal clerk and the assistant and the town manager are coded to this line. So in the FY22 budget, you'll see that broken out. But right now, that's the line that we had to work with. So you'll see that line go over budget, and then you'll see the finance department line be under budget, and that'll be a wash. And I've given you an envelope with a little bit of information regarding the reorganization and the finance of it. The Lister's budget right now is at 0% revenue. Personnel is at 34%. Expenses are at 50%. Land use budget revenue is at 40%. Expenses are at 33%. And the administrative officer expense is at 39%, which contributed to our administration needing to cut his hours down to 22 hours. Like Patrick was just saying, you know, if you don't know where you are by October, it makes it really difficult as you get to November, December, January, because if these were our findings in January or February, we would have had to reduce those hours much more, so we did catch it ahead of time. Police department revenue is at 60%, expenses are at 33%, which are right on target. The dues and memberships line, you'll notice, is 178% budget. It looks like they went about $230 over on this. Chief Daniels and I had a brief discussion about it. Tuition and training is at 53%. Police retirement is at 44%. So that's going over a little bit, and we need to watch that and see if there's anything we can do. Corps of Engineers is at 86%, but this is a wash between revenue and expenses. Finance, this department doesn't generate any revenue. Expenses for this department are at 37%, and this is where the executive assistant to finance will fall under in FY22. But right now we're using the accountant line for this position. Library revenue is at 0%, expenses are at 28.72%, dues are at 165.53%, building maintenance is at 98.06%, and computers are at 75.27%. I think there was some issues here with the coding of certain expenses to the general ledger. So Suzanne and Mark Richardson have been working together on that. Highway revenue is at 80%. Expenses are at 26.92%. Culverts is at 90.13%, but I don't know if Ray plans on spending any more on that line or not. Highway well water is at 449.46%. And basically that was a deal that the town made with a resident over by the highway building because his well was contaminated by salt. So we had a 5-year agreement with him that if anything happened, that we would pay for it. And he came into the office, he showed me the deal, the contract that the town signed, and there was a bill for like $1,200 from damage. So I did sign off on that, and we had to fulfill it. So.
Sorry, what was the problem again?
So there was a I can't remember exactly what the problem was. This was months ago. But there was some kind of damage to his well, I think electrical wise or something. So he brought me the bill for $1,200. He showed me the contract, and we were in the last couple of months of that contract.
I didn't hear about
I
it.
remember the agreement, but
Yeah, but that was actually for the drill well.
yeah, but I remember the 5-year thing.
Yeah, this seems to be something else,
Yeah.
or I don't know.
It's within that 5-year.
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question
Yeah.
about that? How did we know that it was something that the town garage did?
Yeah, Ray, you know much about that, Dale? I believe Ray's on.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, you had salt in the water, we had to re-drill a well, and in the process of doing that, there was a 5-year agreement to replace any damage that occurred to all the new equipment. Brandon, you stated that he might have had an electrical strike a few months ago, which damaged some components in his house, and he gave the bill to Brandon, and he looked at the agreement and signed off on it
Okay.
to replace the components in the house.
No.
Sounds like an insurance, could be. I'm not sure.
The,
But that's okay. If we,
Okay, move on.
Yep, let's move on.
all right, internet services are at 318%. Workers' compensation is at 58.45%. So I've noted the lines that I need to keep a close eye on and follow up on. So you'll see a couple of, everything that I've listed in here are things that struck my attention. Solid waste revenue is at 58.29%. Reading's appropriation will be booked in spring of 21. West Windsor permit sticker revenue is at 230%. Solid waste duplicates are at 2,359%. And West Windsor punch tickets are at 91.53%. Expenses are at 28%. Retirement is at 44%, and workers' compensation is at 50%.
Are there any questions about this? I know it's a little, we're not going to get too deep into it tonight because this is going to be, when we start taking up the budgets a little bit later on, not tonight, the next meeting, the next couple of
Also giving you
meetings.
guys a copy of the budget to actual, so if you want to go through each department's budget and take a look, the blue is, everything that's highlighted in blue are the budget to actual, so it's done to date. And then of course, there's a column here that says the FY '21 approved budget, so all the way to the right is the year to date that we've spent.
Brandon, I think I got it figured out, but the green column marked FY '21 actual is really what we budgeted, am I right?
Yes, correct.
So it's not what we spent, it's what we budgeted.
Yeah, that's what we budgeted, and then July, August, September,
Right,
October, all that
right.
blue.
I couldn't figure out the percentages. What are the two green percent of change?
So
The last column is the amount we spent percentage-wise. What's the one before it?
That's the percent change from FY '20 to FY '21.
Okay.
And then the next column is, the percentage of the line that we've used to date.
Got you.
One of the things that we need to keep, well, I'll remind the board of, is that the solid waste is an entity that runs itself. Okay, no tax money there, but fee-based. But the highway is fully funded from the tax collection, or whether we need to borrow from somewhere to fund the highway. The school is fully funded as well for the same mechanism. It's the general fund that will either be in surplus or deficit, and right now, it's the last information that we'd had on the first quarter, when Brandon did the study for us to keep us up to speed on it. I think year over year, it was something like $5,000 or $10,000 worse. That has escalated a little bit right now. We're now at $60,000 shortfall from the general fund. So we're going to have another tax quarterly payment on Wednesday. So within a week, we'll know more about how COVID-19, if it's affecting tax payments or not, after this Wednesday coming up. So we just need to keep our eye on the ball, and it's not as good as it was a year ago. So, and it's from accounts receivable.
Do we have a way to track, compare year to year as the payments come in?
We did that on the last quarter, yes.
Okay.
The first quarterly payment. Now we're coming into the second one on
The first one
Wednesday.
didn't look too bad.
No, it was like $5,000 or $10,000 worse than the previous year. It wasn't as bad as we thought it might be.
Right.
But since then, it's going down a little. So we're increasing the amount receivable.
Okay.
We're up to 60. We're short.
That we're behind.
Yes. Isn't that right, Brandon? I mean, that's what you've been telling me.
Yes. Suzanne, are you there?
We don't need to talk about it. We got other things. We got some more things to think about tonight. I just, what the board needs to keep focused on is to let Brandon, when he sees these expenses kind of pop up in all areas, he needs to inform the department heads
Yes.
that we're not in the best financial position right now. There is some unknown still going on, so just to pay attention. That's exactly what's gonna happen here.
I think
So-
we're $60,000 short. Is that correct, Suzanne, for the first quarterly tax payment?
Yeah, that's normal though. I mean, the due date, they just come in, so I'm not worried about that. And we have about 86,000 in an open deposit at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
We'll know more after Wednesday and maybe within a week after that, so he'll keep us updated on that. Next up is the land use fees, number 7. Are you still there, Chris? Are you online, Chris Whidden?
I'm here.
Okay. Do you want to take this up? We're on the land use fees, so I think, without looking, we're looking at an increase in fees?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was reviewing the zoning administrator fees because I know that Ben was looking at that before. And I was looking at them and I looked at comparing to other towns, and Weathersfield was very low on comparatively. If you look at your package, you'll see what we have now, the recommended change, as well as the list of other towns research that I've done, just for your guys' consideration.
Has everybody had a chance to look at these? I really haven't paid a lot of attention to it.
It was a lot to compare.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm struggling to see what we really have to gain. I mean, what's the intention of doing this other than to be on the same page with other towns?
Other towns, yeah, I know. I don't know either. And I don't know how to compare. I don't know if this would deter somebody from doing something or not. I don't know. Is there any comments? Have you guys taken this up at the planning board?
Yeah.
And you like to be the same as everybody else?
Sure.
No?
No. No. I think, I think you look at the fees as being a user-based fee system. You increase revenues into the land use budget through your fee system, your user fee system, as opposed to just putting it on a tax line.
So when this was, and I like to see what is now and what is then. So for instance, how did you come up with the new fees? Did you just go down the list one by one and say, we're just gonna increase them by 5%? Or is it like 25%, or is it 100%? What is it?
Like Chris mentioned, he's got comparisons to other towns.
Yeah, but that's okay. I wanna go from now and after now. So let's say we have a driveway permit somewhere in here. What is the one now? And the one after, it says it's gonna be $30. What do we have now? What's the driveway permit now?
Off the top of my head, if you want a comparison like that,
Why
we
don't you
could.
start with one that's like the first in line? That
Okay.
way everybody's right there.
Permitted access,
Yeah,
the first one.
goes from $30 to $45 and remains at 5 cents per square foot.
Oh, so it's like a 50% increase.
In the base fee.
Yeah,
In the base fee. Yeah. $15.
that's a lot of percent.
Yeah, but to like quote what you said earlier, things
33.3.
change. Can't keep everything the same.
I'm just saying.
I think in our last presentation, we've cut the hours of the administrator because we're over budget.
Yeah.
And would higher fees be helping that situation so that we wouldn't be cutting hours?
But at the same time, what we would see is we'd see more revenue generated. But once the town, and the select board vote on the budget for that land use administrator line, even if more revenue is coming in, the line is what it is. It was approved at 29.9. So yeah, I mean, we could balance it with more revenue coming in, but I think by increasing the zoning permit fees and positioning ourselves similar to other towns, we'll be able to budget for FY22, knowing that these are the figures. So it would help us increase hours for the land use administrator for FY22.
I believe also that this is something that has not happened in quite some time.
I think I saw 2011. But that's a little speculative. I don't think I would be sitting here at a budget hearing expecting some kind of structure to say we're going to get this kind of income. That's like saying the police fines stop more speeders. That's a lot unknown, too. Go ahead, John.
At one point, the goal was to have the fees pay for 50, correct, help me divorce, 50% of the expense of having a land use administrator / zoning. We've never even come close to hitting 50%. But we should set a goal we should set a realistic goal and set the fees to meet that goal. Almost like zero-based budgeting.
I was thinking that.
Yes, Paul.
So just a couple things. One, I just want everybody to know we did have a full-time land use administrator for a while. The previous board nixed their time and put that part-time. And obviously at part-time right now, he's still working more hours than what, is needed. That's why the budget's over, so we're having to cut his hours back when he's actually needed more. So some of that's there. The other thing too is when some of the fees go up a little bit to be more in alignment with other towns, it just puts us on a level playing field, but it also will help with, I'll be honest, like sometimes now we get people that come in for like the sketch plan review, and it's not, it's not completely all the way where it should be. Now, some of that, sorry Chris, I want to push some of that back to the land use administrator too, to help get the documentation in order before we come in front of the board. But I think it's also going to help people make sure that it's not just easy to come in. I want people to be able to do things in town, but they also need to help and have some of the work done up front too. So I don't know if that made sense or not. But
Does the board want to take any action on this tonight?
I'll make a motion to adopt the new
Fee
land use
schedule of the
administrator
zoning.
fees schedule.
Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
The motion been made and seconded to adopt the new land use administrator fees dated, will be tonight, November 16th, 2020, on the fee structure as noted, the new fee structure as noted. Any discussion?
Yeah,
Go.
I don't like this. We're going up on, sketch plan review went up $50. Preliminary plot review went up $50. I mean, I'm just struggling to see the benefit, and someone who just built a house like myself, and going through this, you got somebody in a financial crunch already, trying to get some walls up, trying to get a roof on, and you're going to nail them with this nickel dime stuff. And to be frank with you, it killed my cash, my ready cash, dealing with these fees through the building process. It just does. They add up quickly. Because not only that, you got fees to hook onto water. You got fees for this, fees for that. I don't think this is a good place to hit people. I mean, if we're looking to increase his budget, let's increase his budget and give him more hours. But this is not the people you want to be hitting. I don't like the fee-based thing.
Any other comments? Motion been made and seconded to approve the zoning permit fees as noted on the agenda for November 16th, 2020, noting that the current fees were adopted on April 5th, 2011. So it's about 9.5 years ago. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Did you vote, Paul?
I'm going to abstain for now.
You're going to abstain. I'm going to vote no. So it's 3-0-1.
And we can revisit it at any time.
Excuse me, 3-3-1-1.
I just abstain. And I'll go on record. I want to look at it some more too. I'm not necessarily against it, but I want to take into consideration.
Just for the record, I'm agreeing with Joey. If we want to increase hours, then we'll take that up on a budgetary thing, which we're about ready to do. I don't want to derail growth.
No.
So I'm open for listening for an hour or whatever we're gonna do there. DeForest.
More than they charge in Claremont.
Okay.
This is substantially more. You get a lot of small projects here in town. You want to kind of scale your fees for the size of the project.
Yeah.
The bigger the project, the more time the zoning administrator has to put into it, paid time to review it and make sure it's ready before it goes to the board. But the smaller,
And we just, by approving the zoning bylaw changes, we did significantly change the small enterprise and home business.
That was the other thing, too.
So it's gonna open,
I'm okay with this
it's gonna
decision.
open the door for people to apply for home-based business, so.
this is scary.
No, we did, but it went down. But the vote went down. At least the fee structure went down. So the vote's been taken. Let's go on to the healthcare plan. Do you have something, Brandon, or do you want, who's gonna speak on behalf of healthcare?
I'll start it, and then I'm gonna pass it over to Suzanne. Suzanne, are you there? Okay, so I'll just give a brief introduction, and then I'm gonna pass it over to Suzanne. So there are currently 2 employees on the MVP Gold Single Plan, 3 employees on the MVP Gold 2-person plan, 1 employee on the MVP Gold Adult and Child Plan, 5 employees on the MVP Gold Family Plan, 3 employees who opt out, and 12 employees with an HSA. The town's contribution is currently 90.5%, and the employee's contribution is 9.5%. Under our existing plan in 2020, the total cost of that plan is $259,682.85, with an employee contribution of $17,818.91, and an employer contribution of $239,748. The average amount that we spend is $9,987 per person. And then you'll also see the averages over there in the right-hand column for each of the respective plans. So we looked at a couple of, it went up this year by 4.7%.
First, can I break up just a minute, Brandon? I just want to make sure that everybody who's interested in healthcare is online and hooked up and they can hear us, right? So I see either John or BJ, Alex Longton. I don't know who, Ray Stapleton, so I don't know. Can everybody hear the discussion going on? I know that healthcare affects everybody. I just want to make sure that we're plugged in and they can hear and so forth, and we can hear you. Are you there? It's either John or BJ?
John's here.
Okay, John, good. Good. Alex, everybody? Okay, good. I just want to be clear about, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I don't want any difficulty on sound or anything now. So, okay, sorry.
All right. So I've given you guys a separate sheet. So I don't want to use the one that I put inside the packet because I revisited the numbers a little bit today. So it's actually the free page. So I looked at what it would cost for health, or Suzanne and I looked at what it would cost for health insurance right now under the same plan. That's $276,000. So it's going up about $16,000. So that $16,000 increase, I was trying to figure out how we could share that cost between the employees and the town. So I looked at what I felt is reasonable, which would be 14%. And I would like to just state for the record, this does also affect me as well. I feel like 14% is very fair, and that increases the employee contribution to about $28,647. And then the employer contributions, we're actually able to kind of, since we're in this financial crunch due to COVID, we're $60,000 short right now in the general fund on our first quarterly tax payment. The employer contribution would still be going up about $8,000, and the same would be true for the employees. So 14% is noted there. However, it's just an option. I also showed what the numbers look like at 9.5%. So you can see between our current and the new with the 9.5%, that's $257,000. So the town kind of gets hit $17,000 additional for keeping the same plan with the HSA and the opt-out. Then we looked at the 2021 Gold 3 plan without the HSA. That would drop if we dropped it down to 6%. Again, all these percentages we can calculate quickly right now. If you'd like to throw another percent out, I can show you what that looks like. We looked at the Platinum plan. Now with the Platinum plan, we wouldn't necessarily need an HSA. So the HSA, and I don't believe you can even have an HSA with this plan. So with this plan, the town's share would increase about $8,000, and the employee contribution would increase about $4,000. And then I looked at the 2021 Gold 2 plan. Suzanne, do you have anything that you'd like to add on to that?
I do. I have several thoughts on that. If we would leave it like it is, and we do the same share, and we do the HSA, with the current employees that we have, it would be about an $8,000 increase for the town. It would be an $8,000 cost increase. Plus, of course, the employee premium would go up. They still would be 9.5%, but they also see the 4.7% increase. So that would be a share as of today, with the new rate and the split increase, same portions, town and employees. My concern with the HSA, we have talked about this last year, is that there are a lot of employees, they have prescriptions, and unfortunately they have to renew them beginning of the year when the new plan comes out, and it hits them very, very hard. Some of those prescriptions, they have to come up with $600 per prescription, and we have tried to get generic brands, which didn't work. We have tried to get assistance with the prescriptions, it didn't work. So it does hit them hard, and that's why the HSA just comes in. The HRA, HSA doesn't matter, but if they have it up front to have that money available. Another option to build it up is to pay out of pocket and build up the HSA out of the payroll deductions to have that money available. But I think no one has done that so far. There are just 2 employees, and there might be a cost coming up for the employees and the families with them. I think you cannot influence who's coming up and who's going out. You never can predict the fluctuation of employees, so you don't know if someone decides to leave or move on, so I think there's always a little percentage that could change, that someone could drop off or bring a spouse on or like that. But I still think that everyone that opts out saves the town a lot of money. Because if someone opts out, they get $10,000 for a family plan, then they get less for a single plan. But let's say it's the maximum $10,000 versus maybe a family that costs the town $25,000. It's a saving to the town. I would still encourage it, but that's just my personal opinion because it saves on the town side. But I still want everyone to have insurance available and have coverage available. But I have to side on the employee side, and I would like to hear. I had a lot of employees reach out to me over the last 2 weeks, and they are very, very concerned. And I couldn't assure them, I couldn't calm them down, but they're scared. And I would like Ray and John and Bo, if they're on, to say something, what they feel, what they need, just what they need to figure out what direction to go in.
Well, let me temper down your language a little bit, because I don't think there's any reason to be scared. I think you use that verb, and I would not use that. We have a series of plans here. We have a series of plans here, and we're going to do the best we can to provide the coverage and to see how much it costs the town. I don't know enough about the plans, internally, the plans, on who would pay for what when, to compare, let's say, a lower deductible plan that doesn't have the HSA, that may offer more coverage at the end of the day. I know that the school is different than the town, so I think internally these plans have some differences among the plans. So,
They do, they have an out-of-pocket maximum cost, which is different from the plan deductible.
yep.
And I think that's where the employees get hit the hardest, which would be co-insurances depending on the provider, which would be co-pays for a prescription cost that comes in there. And that could be up to $13,000 for the Gold 2 plan.
And it might be different, and it might be different for another plan, though. So those are the kinds of things that I don't know. I don't want to throw out language that I don't want to scare anybody. Did you have a question, Mike?
I do. Suzanne, one of the first point you made was, had to do with prescription deductible and people needing to pay that because they get their prescriptions right up front. To be honest with you, the plan that I like the most is the Platinum plan. That has no deductible, individual or family.
So it would be depending on the tier of the prescription. If you have a tier 1 prescription, it would be $10 and then no deductible. If for tier 2, it would be $50. For tier 3, which most of the employees were on when I gave the prescription track list out last year, is a 50% that you have to pay and then no deductible. For the Gold high deductible plan last year, it was included. It was free last year for the Gold 3.
Well, let me ask you maybe Brandon can answer this. Was the plan that was in effect last year, is that in effect this year? Because sometimes they're
Yes.
not. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because sometimes, yeah, but it's changed, you see. They're never going to be the same. So that's we got to get that on the table. So it's not accurate to say that what we have last year is okay for this year because it's not available, right? Okay, good. That's up on the table.
Correct. And the increase is normal. It's nothing unusual.
Well, I'm not talking about the increase in premiums. I'm talking about the care. So I'm talking about health care. Was anything in that
Yes.
plan changed? Okay.
It's a prescription. The
Okay.
prescriptions were changed and the deductible went up.
Okay. So then, I mean, that automatically the question would come immediately to my mind. Is there another plan that would serve better outcome for either the same premium as a year ago or different premium? I mean, I don't know the answer to that, but
I think it's depending on the individual. That's how you said, it's really not each one is the same. It's really depending on what their needs are. If some have different medical needs, then one plan is better than the other. But it's also depending on the HSA. If you're asking my personal opinion, I still think the Gold 3 high deductible plan is the better plan for a family that has medical needs.
Yeah, so we're gonna, obviously, we're not gonna get in, I don't feel comfortable getting into a discussion about for me, who would benefit more or not. That's not my job. My job is to look overall, I think. I can't, because I think, Brandon, you told us earlier, if there's a single person that works for the town and they happen to get married during the year, they're covered. That's an internal change. So I don't want to get into, well, John Deere will benefit, so I think I'll give him that, and Fred Jones, not so beneficial. I don't want to pick that at all. I'm not into picking that. So I want to see which one would be, as a whole, would work. Do you have another question or no? Anybody have any questions? I'm glad to, anybody online, I'm glad to open the floor for discussion. And just, if somebody wants to jump in, just say so.
I have a question.
Joey, go ahead.
Is there a downside other than no HSA to going with the platinum plan? Like, other than that, there's no HSA figure in there. I mean, that, from what I see, you're getting a lot better coverage.
What is the
Way better.
what is the deductible?
$350, $700,
$350 deductible,
$700 family.
$700 deductible family.
Versus 3,000, 6,000.
Yes.
Depends whether you use it, if it's a good deal.
Well, yeah. I mean, for me, I'll gamble, but.
Well, but if
personal.
if you're using the health care, then why wouldn't you have a lower out-of-pocket cost up front? Why wouldn't you? Even if you had a family, $700, that's kind of unheard of right now.
Yeah.
A $700 deductible for a family?
That is.
Prescription out-of-pocket max, $1,400. It's the same.
Go ahead, Suzanne.
Do you see the out-of-pocket maximum for the platinum plan? That would include co-insurance, that would include co-pays, and they would have to reach the 2,800. So for that platinum plan, maybe the individual deductible for the individual is $350, and for the family is $700, but there's the $2,800 out-of-pocket net. Right now, as of now, they have to pay $1,400 out of pocket for a family. It would double out of pocket with the platinum plan.
I didn't quite follow that. You said that they have to reach that number. No, that's not the deductible number. That's a maximum out-of-pocket number. That's a big difference.
Can we go one at a time? I just want to clarify, and when somebody said that, immediately something went off in my head saying, okay, is the town responsible for any of that or not? I don't know the answer to that.
For any of what?
Of the total out-of-pocket costs.
Well, currently, the total out-of-pocket cost is being handled with the HSA under the Goal 3 plan.
So we are paying that, the town.
Yeah, we're allocating money to HSA to help cover that.
But not as a whole. What is the plan now? It's a $5,000 deductible, isn't it? It might even be more.
3,600.
3 and 6.
3 and 6.
3,000 and 6,000, okay, 6,000 for a family.
Right.
Yes. How much does the town pay of that $6,000?
4,000.
4,000. So the employee's contribution, maximum out-of-pocket, is 2,000.
Correct.
And what would it be to the, Suzanne just said,
2,800.
2,800.
okay. So does that include the premium increase?
No.
Okay.
So if you went to the platinum, you would get rid of the HSA.
Right.
Yes.
You have to, because by law, you can't attach an HSA to.
To the platinum,
Yeah, you can only have those with high deductible plans.
Yes.
which makes sense.
Yes.
We know, Suzanne, do you know the percentage that this went up? I was trying to do it in my head and it wasn't doing very well.
It went up 4.7%, but for someone who doesn't have any medical costs, if you just do an annual physical, the platinum plan is great. Because you would not even reach that $700 deductible. That's why I'm saying it depends on your personal need, which direction you would go.
Right. Right.
And
And
we,
it also depends, where do you go? If you go to Dartmouth, you will be hit with a higher co-insurance than you would go to Valley Regional or a family night practice.
Well, you know, I mean, it's not anything news that healthcare is challenging, and needs to be navigated through whenever you go for any doctor's visit at all. The good news is, we're talking about plans here, and we're gonna work through them. Are there any other comments? Any comments online? Anybody at all willing to jump in? Go ahead.
This is Ray, I need some clarity.
Okay?
The $700 deductible under Platinum, is that per person or is that total?
That's total for family.
family.
Okay, the answer was total for the family.
Thanks.
That's and my comment is, I've not heard of a number that low on a deductible for a family plan. At all.
And another thing that sometimes, I know in the past, when I had a meeting with the budget committee and employees in the office, something that was overlooked or misunderstood, and I'm not saying it is at this point in time, but I want to make sure it's not, is that there are a lot of things that happen under that insurance that are just flat co-pays, and like $10 or $50, $20, and there's no deductible. That means it doesn't matter if you've met the deductible or not, you only pay $20. And that $20 goes towards the deductible. So now you've reduced your deductible amount for any other thing. The other thing with this one that it is very unlikely to find anywhere, you look at hospital facility, inpatient, outpatient, 10%. That's individual or family cost is 10%. That's a 90-10. The insurance company pays 90%. You get 10%. And that's really where the maximum out of the pocket number comes in. Because if you spend 2 or 3 days in a hospital,
You're gonna, never mind the deductible, you're gonna meet that other column.
Yeah, exactly. So it is, and I know that we do have some people I remember from previous conversations that, their medical costs are high. I remember one of the discussions being that under the original plan we had before Obamacare, it was November before they had reached their deductible. And then they had about a month and a half of insurance, and then they were back to the deductible again.
Reset the clock.
Yeah, the clock was reset. So,
When does this decision have to be made?
I believe we need a decision tonight.
Okay. That's the deadline.
Yeah.
it's December 15th is the deadline
Right.
on.
December 15th is the deadline.
For enrollment.
Go ahead, Suzanne.
This is Suzanne. If you could make a decision on staying with MVP, we do have to sign up again, and there's not much time, so we have to re-enroll. If you could take a vote, just staying with the same provider.
But not the plan? We don't need to specify the plan?
Well, if you can't today, but,
Well, the reason I asked that,
I don't know
go ahead.
if the employee wants to think about it.
Yep, and that's fair. That is very fair to me. The reason I asked was, today is the 16th?
Yep.
But the only reason that I asked that was I scheduled a meeting to be warned on the 30th of November, specifically for fire. And I'm not unwilling to put this on for an actual final vote if we can't come to a resolution tonight, because we've got other things to talk about. And I know that we've only gotten 20 minutes into this, but I don't see any comparisons here to Blue Cross. I know the school has Blue Cross, and I know for a fact that the last time I knew, which I'm on it, our deductible is $800, and we have to pay 20% of the premium at the school. regardless of increases or decreases or whatever's going on.
Sorry.
Blue Cross Blue Shield, and a tremendous increase going to Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yep.
Yeah.
With the low cost share that we have.
Yep,
I have it available if we need it.
yep. And therein's John's first task up to the legislature, to try to combine us into bigger groups.
I'm not gonna be on that committee.
Oh, come on.
Dave, I'm putting a set of some numbers together that I think will be helpful for the employees to consider. For me, I'm within one of two plans, but I would like to give these numbers a chance here. Just give me one more second and I'll have this for you. Where'd I go?
Is that on the screen, Brandon? Is that the sheet that you just gave us? The single sheet, right there?
You can give me any
Okay,
percentages
good.
or any numbers, and I can change it.
Okay, good.
Okay, I'm ready with my numbers. What I did here is I compared the existing plan, employee contributions, with the same at 9.5%. So for everybody that has this sheet, it's the third row down. The gold 3 HDP at 9.5% with an HSA. Total cost of the town is $257,182. So I just did the single, and I divided the employee contribution by the 3 employees there. So their yearly contribution is $778 from their paycheck. If you go down to the platinum plan, and in that same column, the single individuals, there's 3, it's $862. So each individual's contribution would go up under the platinum plan at 9.5%, their contribution would go up to $862. So 862 minus 778 divided by 12 is like $7 a month more that they would pay for the platinum plan.
Okay, so that's a single. What about?
That's a single.
What?
And for the family, I did the same thing for the family.
Okay,
And the MVP Gold 3 that they're in now is $21.86 each that they.
No, it's not. It's $40.15 a week out of my paycheck for a family plan.
Well, Ray, I took the number that's right here. It's $10,933 divided by 5 individuals.
We each have $40.15 a week taken out of our paycheck for the family plan.
$40.50 times 50.
It's $40.15. Any of the guys can jump in and help me out
Well,
here.
it's 21. Okay. So it's 2106. So it's less.
$2,100.
Still $2,100.
Okay. And then what?
Well, and actually, Ray, that's the new plan that would be coming in, not the old plan. So my number is probably right at 2186. Because you're talking about the old plan, I'm talking about the one that would be coming in, and that's going to have the.
This year right now with proposal at 14%.
No,
I'm paying $40.15
that's
a week.
that's
so
not
about
that's
$20.
not what the I'm not. You're not talking about the same plan, Ray. I'm talking about the next one down at 9.5%.
Thank you.
So, okay, so then the family, under the platinum plan is 2422. So 2422 minus 2186 is 236 divided by 12 is a 19, that would be a $19 increase for a family.
A month.
1967, almost $20.
A month?
A month. A month.
Increase.
Increase. It's about $5 more a week out of a paycheck to go to the platinum plan.
And the deductible is much lower.
$350 for a single, $700 for a family.
Total for a family, 700.
Yes.
So what I'm looking at for a family, under the 9.5%, it would increase by $2.05 per paycheck, and then $6 for the platinum plan.
How'd you do that?
What do you mean?
Here's Excel.
Yeah, so, so basically what you do is you take this $12,112 divided by 5 people, and then divide it by 52. That gives you the amount
Okay.
that would come out.
All right, even better, yes.
So you got 46, you got 42. So you're talking about a 6, 12, 18, $24 increase per month by going to the platinum
That
plan.
wasn't off much.
But some of that has got to do with the increase in the 6% rate hike.
Well, now, and another thing to look at here is this is a good healthcare plan. This isn't dumping a junk healthcare plan on our employees.
Correct.
And it helps to save the town some money at the same time. So we do have two groups of people that we represent here, the employees and the taxpayers. And we have to be fair with both. So,
I don't think I've heard anybody say that they're not good healthcare plans here.
no,
I mean,
that's true.
I-
That's,
You know, when I'm looking at them and then looking at to see the out-of-pocket cost,
Yes,
and year over year.
yes.
I'm kind of surprised that I heard that Suzanne say that MVP is only up like 6%, because normally we're dealing with like double digits.
She said 4.6.
4.7.
Okay, so, yeah, but, okay, that's
I
even
agree,
more
that's the
surprising.
lowest we've seen.
Yeah, so I don't know that we have much to complain about either. I mean, given our history, or the history in increases. Does the board want to make a decision tonight, or do we want to just, I mean, I heard Suzanne say that if we could just name that MVP is going to be the carrier, or I don't want to run our back up against the wall, but I did, because the planning board meets next Monday night, and I thought it would be okay if we just warned a meeting, because there's an extra Monday night meeting in November for the 30th. But I don't want to run up against the deadline. So when is the deadline to enrollment for healthcare plans officially? Is it the 15th of December?
15th.
It is? What
It
does,
would be actually January 31st, if we decided on going with MVP.
I don't think there's much discussion about going with MVP.
no, exactly.
No,
I'm okay with that. Does the board want to take up the plan tonight or not?
I want to give the employees a chance to digest everything
Yeah.
we're saying.
I mean, even if we narrowed it down to a couple of
Yeah.
options that we like and let them talk about them.
Well,
This is personally, I like the gold plan. That works best for me in my family. And with having that HSA is very helpful. I've had an unexpected surgery, and I'm so glad I had that.
but did you hear the comparison? Because I would be intrigued on the low deductible. So the surgery may have been covered, because you're only going to meet, if you've got a family, the total. It's interesting to compare plans, and I don't have them all in front of me either. But when I heard this, for a $700 deductible for all of the family is extremely low. So I think that even in a type of a surgery type thing, you're out of pocket.
Well, don't forget, you got that next column down with those two numbers.
Right.
That,
Right.
14 and 28.
Yeah.
But with his HSA now, he's paying $2,000.
that's right, so it's only an $800
And the town's funding
difference.
it all.
Yeah.
So the plan, the premium that we're on the hook for is a different combination. That's, I guess, what we're getting to.
Yeah.
Correct.
I think they're gonna get the same thing, but the combination of funding is a little different. The care, the health care, isn't fooled around with. I think we need to keep our focus on the two separate things: the package of funding and the care. Can we just make? We don't need a motion, but can we make a commitment tonight just to stay with MVP?
This is John. Can I just make a comment?
Yep. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I just feel that the current, some of the rates that you were proposing, that the 14%, going from 9.5% to 14%, on this year, when the premiums rose 4.7%, and last year, when we went from, we were at 7% or 7.5%, and we went to the 9.5%, and like you were saying, Dave, that was a double-digit increase in the premium.
Yep.
So we took a 2% increase on a double digit, although I think it was like almost close to 10% premium increase, and now this year, one of the proposals at the 14%, we're going up 3.5% on a 4.7% total premium increase.
Yes.
4.5%.
Yeah, no, I understand where you're going. And that's one of the plans. The other ones are at 6, or they actually lower it, your contribution, at 9.5. So you got.
But at 6%, the 6% is without an HSA.
Right.
So if you still have a high deductible, the employee's contribution then is $6,000.
Yep.
Towards the deductible.
Yep.
Maximum out of pocket.
And I wouldn't advocate for that plan either.
Nope.
I mean, so
Neither would I.
that's why you don't go. That's why you don't go down that road. But on the other hand, there's a couple in here that have very low deductibles. So
working outside a municipality, I'm just gonna be straightforward with you, say my deductible on my own personal plan is $3,600, and my weekly contribution is $54. So all this stuff here that we're talking about, feel lucky still that we're getting good rates. I'm not gonna say that one way or the other is gonna be bad or worse, but at the end of the day, these are not horrible contributions. I don't feel.
the last time I checked at the school, anyway, in our own town school, was an $800 deductible and 20% of the premium, which is $16,000, $3,200 that we're on the hook for, out of pocket. So we're out $4,000. We're out. Yes.
Brandon, Suzanne did a study and a narrative on the comparison between the Blue Cross and MVP, and she had in that narrative, I think, she stated for lack of a better word, the average that people typically pay or co-pay for insurance. I think that was around 20 or 25% was in that report. Is that correct?
I can't comment on, Suzanne, are you still present?
Yes, that is correct. That's usually 25%.
Yeah, that's what I've.
We're way under.
Can you, Brandon and Suzanne, both of you, can you, I'm assuming that she has this sheet. I just want to keep moving forward. So we're in a unanimous decision about staying with MVP. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay,
Yes.
good.
For me,
So
yes.
can you forward this latest sheet that you gave us, because you said it was different than the one that's in the book?
Yep.
And make sure that all the employees get it to look at, to know that what we're talking about, and maybe for, simple for all of us, then we can make another decision. Total, like, out-of-pocket cost for the employees in numbers down here, and then we'll be deciding on the 30th. How's that?
Sounds good to me.
We'll have a final decision on the 30th of November, yes.
Do the employees have a copy of this?
If they don't, we certainly can get it to them, so.
Ray, did you distribute copies of the healthcare sheet that we reviewed in my office?
I got the ones in your office that went into the packet, but at the beginning of the meeting, you said the ones that got tonight aren't the same numbers.
No, that's different, Ray.
Yeah, because Ray, when you were in my office, I was still creating the numbers, so we quickly got something together because you wanted to give it to your employees. So I had it.
That's what I gave them on Thursday.
Yep. So they.
I don't know what you guys are looking at tonight, if it's the same sheet or not.
They got the first draft of a rushed process.
No, this, Brandon, I'm talking about this.
Coverages.
Oh, okay.
The coverages, the actual plans.
We can sort out paperwork.
That right there.
I'm asking Brandon to sort the paperwork out and give it to the employees. Motion to extend the meeting 30 minutes.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, there's gonna be a final decision
So
on
to
it.
clarify, we got a copy of the plans, that big sheet you held up,
Yep.
Joey.
Yep.
And I got the paperwork from Brandon that we did Thursday. That's the latest one I got, that I gave the employees.
There's a new one.
Yeah, so I'll give, if John Esty can give me a call tomorrow, you're on vacation, right, Ray?
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe John and I can connect tomorrow, and if he wants to come into the office and I can explain it to him, and then he can go back to the employees and distribute a copy of the updated numbers. Is that okay, John?
Yeah, Brandon, that'll be fine. I'll give you a call, or you can call me in the morning, whichever.
Sounds good to me.
What time are you in the morning?
Tomorrow I'll probably come in, I don't know, 8:30.
Okay, I'll give you a call at 9.
Okay, sounds good.
And we'll try to meet at, how about we try to meet at 9 at the town office?
Sounds good to me. I'll see you then.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Just one other comment that I appreciate your time on working on this. However, for some of us, and I'm sure Dave, you're well aware of that, the open enrollment for the school closed yesterday. So I can't join my wife's insurance if I wanted to, because I couldn't make an informed decision. I can't compare your plans to their plans.
Mm-hmm.
So the opt-out doesn't work for me now, or for anybody else at this point that I know of in our employees. So what I'm saying is that I guess in the future, this discussion should have happened at least 2 weeks ago, and not waited now. And now we've got what? The 30th is when we make our decision.
Yes.
I could not agree more, John. We get into these discussions way too late.
Yeah, and it happens every year.
Yes.
Yep.
That's why I said what I said. I agree completely with you.
I agree. My enrollment last week too, at my work. So,
Ours did too.
so yeah. We hear you. Thank you on that.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, John.
You too, John.
Let's go on to number 9. We've been taking up the Abbott property for, I'm not even sure how long now.
You still awake, Willis?
6 years.
3 months. 3 months, 9 days, 4 seconds, whatever. I haven't calculated it all. But Brandon, do you want to give us an update? I see that you've got some bottom information
Yeah, so
with us. There's no, just for clarification, there's no motion on the table right now. We kind of there was one that was tabled for 3 or 4 meetings, and then we took a vote at the last meeting. So we're pretty much back to square one, although there's a really lot of information, and at every one of these meetings, I thank Brandon to at least get it compressed. However, there seems to be difficulty anyway that emerges at every meeting, and I'm not sure what's going to happen tonight, but so take it away, Brandon.
all right, so this is report number 7. We have, we've been discussing reports since August 17th, and in this report, I've provided the select board with a financial comparison based on each option. Also, in between the time from the previous select board meeting and this one, I've delegated wetlands delineations with the state to Olivia, to our principal clerk. So she's been working with Rebecca Chalmers, and she has a brief update for you regarding wetlands delineations. If we move down towards the financials, you can see that under option 1, the delinquent principal would be $4,451, and under option 2, it shows $28,357. And the reason for that is it really depends. It boils down to if we went with option 2, which is to move forward with a tax sale, would we deed the land back? So that number can fluctuate depending on whether or not the board decides to give the land back, and whether or not option 2 or option 1 is selected. You can see the delinquent interest under option 1. That would go to the Board of Abatement, and that would go away. So there'd be about, $72,265 in delinquent interest on this property currently that the Board of Abatement would be abating, and that money wouldn't come into the town. The delinquent penalty would also go to $0 if the Board of Abatement so chooses. And under option 2, that would be $2,159 coming into the town. I've shown wetlands delineations here. Do you want to give us an update on your conversations with the state?
Sure. So Rebecca said that we had to get another wetlands delineation on that piece of property because it had been too long since it had been done. So she gave me contact lists of people I could get a hold of, and he came and
he gave us a quote.
So that's pretty much that.
So we conducted a site visit, and then he drafted up a quote for us. Legal fees to date.
Well, but hold on, so is that an option, is that in column number 1?
Yeah, so that's shown as $6,500 if we decide to go forward with option number 1, according to Rebecca Chalmers. And again, wetlands delineations were conducted. However, the wetlands application was applied for, and then basically the state said, hey, we can either deny this or you can withdraw it. So the previous administration went ahead and withdrew it. And again, I delegated this to Olivia. I pulled her into the 2014 purchase and sale agreement to help me out a little bit. And she was working with the state. The state said that they want you up with wetlands delineations in order to apply for the permit. And through this one vendor, that's $6,500. However, I'm sure we can say no. We get a couple more quotes if we decide to go that route. But I didn't want to spend much more time on it because I don't know where the board stands.
It's a good placeholder.
Yeah, it's a placeholder. Legal fees to date, that's really not going to change much. Depending, if we go with option 1, we're going to have to draft up an easement, which Nate would charge, I would think, around $1,000 for. So I can see legal fees increasing a little bit there. And if we go with option 2, I can see legal fees increasing a little bit there too, because we would have to void the purchase and sale agreement, which we've already. I don't think it would be as involved as some may think. So appraisals, survey, and permitting to date, we spent about $9,914, and that's not going to go away with option 1 or option 2. That's just money that we've already spent. So the Johnson easement, I think we'll, between time and money, we'll spend around $3,500. So I was asked to provide this cost analysis and the total cost of the town under option 1. And again, this number is created because there's delinquent interest of $72,000. So if you would assume that delinquent interest could be revenue generated into the town, then you can assume that that would also be a loss to the town if it's abated. So we're talking about $135,000 under option 1, and then $27,174 under option 2. But then you also have to take into consideration the value that we would be obtaining, which would be access to the town forest, and how can you put a dollar number on? How can you put a figure on that? In the last meeting, the board requested that I draft a letter to Emily Abbott to negotiate with Terry Johnson, and then to amend the purchase and sale agreement so that we could see what it would look like if we decided to finish it right now. So there's a letter to Emily Abbott and inside this packet, and then Johnson and I did come to an agreement, so they have accepted the deal, and that agreement is attached as attachment B. And other than that, that's basically the update from us for today.
Mike?
Do you have contingencies figured in on option one that would cover any construction costs?
This is actually just, this is just a cost to date. We don't, I mean, if we talk about construction costs, we would definitely be going forward with grant applications to fund the construction. Would we get it? I'm pretty confident, but you just never know. It depends on how good the proposal is that we put together. So I can't really say with certainty the cost of the construction until we review grant possibilities and apply for that funding, and that funding is reviewed by the grant review committee, who makes a decision, and lets us know. So,
Thank you.
And Paul?
I just wanted to quickly, I had two people that reached out to me. One was Steve Aikenhead, and I couldn't make out the message. It was Julia from Weathersfield Land Preservation Association. I'm not sure.
Julia Levy.
Julia Levy. Steve, I emailed back and said, it would be a meeting tonight if you wanted to attend and talk about stuff. I'm not sure if Willis is anything to do with helping with that or not. I just wanted to indicate that those two people were, in favor of this going through and being able to have access to the property and stuff.
Dave, I'd like to speak to that when it's appropriate, but speaking on behalf of, well, it would be both Julie and Steve and the Weathersfield Land Preservation Association.
Yep, go ahead, Willis, you got the floor.
Okay, well, when we acquired that cattle forest, Dave, you especially were reluctant to vote for it because it bothered you, among other people, that we had to go to Windsor to access it. And people have worked quite a long time to get this potential access in. And I think what you have right now is that you have a willing person to allow access over her property. And I don't think you're going to get that again from anybody at any time. I think McDermott and Abbott are about the only ways that you can access that property. And I would guess that if you withdraw this from the off the table and put Abbott up for tax sale, that you won't have another option to access that town property through Weathersfield. So that's one reason that I think we should do it. The Weathersfield Land Preservation Association, as I understand it, there's sort of, Brendan, under $5,000 difference between the appraised value and the principal owed on the taxes, and WLPA has voted unanimously to donate up to $5,000 if it would clinch this access deal to make up that difference between what the Abbotts have given and what their principal what. And I guess the third point is that it seems like you have, an elderly lady who's agreed to give up a house, give up 3 acres of developable land, and put an easement very close to her house. And then you said, in 2014 or 2015, she said that. And now you're saying, well, we're going to take that off the table and instead put it up for tax sale. And I know you guys have to balance the budgets, but it's also kind of in my opinion, it's kind of reneging on a deal that Emily Abbott assumed back then was going to go through. As I understand it, she's been up to date on her tax payments since that time. And that's about all I want to say at this point.
You reserve your right for further comment.
That's right.
Okay, good. Here's my response somewhat, Willis, because I'm struggling with this a lot. And you're right, I was there from the beginning. And I've learned a bunch since Brandon has put all of these papers together for us to look at since that time. We have an obligation as members, not only as the board, all of us 5 right now, but the board through the years, as members of the Board of Abatement, to be equal to those, to everybody who comes before that Board of Abatement. And there, we have a list in front of us here tonight that, that Floanne gave us to look at for the reasons why that any sums of money be abated from their taxes. And there's only 7 of them. So I asked today, and I don't know, you know, whether we're going to make a decision tonight or not, but at some moment we are, at some point, whether or not there were minutes to reflect in that initial meeting of the Board of Civil Authority that we met. I don't recall it was the Board of Abatement, but it may have been, where, in this case, the Abbotts gave us a total financial picture of their holdings. And one of the mistakes that I made was the assumption that this property was located entirely where the farm and the barn, the house and the barn is, on that side of the road. And I admit blame that since then, I've actually looked at maps and walked on where the town has received the 2.86 acre, that's not the case at all. So one of the things that's bothering me a great deal is I don't have a financial picture of a particular landowner in Weathersfield that happens to be this one, but that I don't have the complete financial picture to allow myself to vote for, or a proposal that would go to the Board of Abatement that would allow for any money to be released, because I don't know their full asset to liability picture. So that's point one. And I assumed that it was all located in that block between I-91 and next to McDermott, and I'm wrong. So the criteria is, one of them is, and I recall that in that hearing, was inability to pay. Well, I cannot answer that question, whether I've seen those documents, whether the remaining estate of that particular property has the ability to pay, or are they left with assets that would then be able to be used to pay. We are holding right now somewhere between, we've had 3 or 4 tax sales on property and forced landowners here in town, since 2014, to pay total interest, penalty, and principal. That's a whole separate issue where we're forcing other people to recover that. We've spent, which I'm not aware of, $27,000 in cash to date on this. An additional $10,000 more is being sought, raising the total, and not having a parking lot, not having any sort of sense of venue. And you're right, Willis, since the Johnson family has come forward, I know some of us have had chats about where it is, but the existing easement now lies over near where the McDermott line is with the Abbott, and then goes behind the house and goes up to 91. I would favor if we could ever possibly get that straightened out to go in a straight line, because we're going to look like fools in history. Why did you make us walk from that corner all the way across over to 91? And the reason was because the Johnson family didn't offer that until recently. So, but I'm struggling with the not seeing that our group was going to get together a proposal to go to the Board of Abatement and explain it to people about here's what it is. But if I don't have a complete picture on the assets that may still be available to cover the debt, then I'm treating those other people that I voted to have tax sales on very unfairly, and giving them cause to come back in, I think, illegal action on the town to say, you just voted on a property, but you held me. I also think, because we've had this volume of information given to us, that the Board of Selectmen at the time, and I may have been one, they took action that was not legal. They authorized a trade, and it was done by deed, authorized the town council to actually draft the deed, the transfer of this property, before the Board of Abatement gave approval. This board has no authority to make that deal. We can purchase real estate, but this is really the cart before the horse, where the Board of Abatement should have voted on accepting that plan and then the deed transfer, but it's already in the vault. That's just not acceptable to me from a legal standpoint. We have no authority to make that trade unilaterally. So to get everybody where we're at, where I want to be at, I agree completely, Willis, that we have an opportunity to get to this, but I think to get to the end, but I do think that the easement needs to be redone, and I don't know who. I know that Mrs. Abbott is, you know, if I was in that position, I thought I had a deal and it was done. There is a bit of a shortfall that Brandon has done in principle, but we have 20 to 30 landowners right now that have agreements in place to catch up on delinquent taxes. And the discussion that Brandon has dropped on me, we need to go to a tax sale with a whole new round of them right now. So I can't get to where I need to get to with this property for a decision without treating this the same as those. Now, whether we form a group and get together with the Vermont Land Trust or some other venue, a third party that wants to fully make the town whole and have the easement straightened out and still purchase the Johnson easement, I'm all in. But, go ahead, Willis.
If I can comment.
Yep.
I think with the WLPA donation, the principal would be paid for.
Okay.
No, not the interest, but the principal.
Yep.
I think the whatever 26 grand that the town has spent is it's gone. It's spent whatever you do.
Yep.
I think that mistakes. I mean, I think that you can say it's Larry Moline or Tim Mullen or Ed Morris that let that interest pile up so much that that it's whatever 100,000 or whatever it is now. But I think that's mistakes by the tax collectors in the past. I also don't know what that interest was in 2014 when the town did the P&S agreement, because I would think Mrs. Abbott would have thought everything was settled then, and she's paid her taxes since then.
I think it's that number is known. So on July 14, 2014, it was in total here, I'm reading from a page that we've got, $86,000 in total, well, it doesn't say total, but in delinquent taxes. So those numbers are known at that particular moment in time. So I think that I remember sitting in a meeting when the question was, and actually we posed this to everybody that gets in a Board of Abatement or a Board of Civil Authority meeting. Okay, things happened up until this point. What about from this point forward? What happens from this point forward? And so I'm not sure that the amount of interest has escalated since then. I think it happened on the principle that was owed at the time.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't think there's going to be, any land trust is probably not going to come up with that figure to pay those back taxes. So I really think your choice is renege on that agreement and put the property up for tax sale and give up your option to have access, at least at least for as far into the future as I can imagine, or to, I guess it'll be abate that. And I would not worry, personally, I would not be concerned about if the easement goes to the interstate or next to the Johnson Spring. I think all that could be worked out in the future. I think the issue is, do we want to renege on our agreement and go back and put it up for tax sale? Or do we want to continue that agreement so that we have access to the town forest?
The only thing that I would comment on that for a response would be, I don't object to seeing that, but I'm seeing the town hold other people to different standards now a lot. And I don't feel comfortable doing that from me right now. Given the fact that I haven't seen what is left over after whatever assets may be available. So that would mean a lot. If there are none, then I may feel differently. So if there are, like, let's say, outstanding loans or some other part of this abatement, we're going to get into it if it gets that far to the Board of Abatement. The landowner must provide all the financial documents of their holdings. And we've done that before. We'll ask for all kinds of things, whether they're, whatever they've got. So if they've got like a loan on 100 acres that's only like $1,000, the Board of Abatement will be put into a very hard place, no matter what, to accept this as presented. Mike?
Has the Board of Abatement heard this case at all?
No.
Well, 14.
Yeah, 2014, but none of the documents that have come forward since.
Anybody recall what happened there? Roughly, just.
The can got kicked down the road.
So they did
There's
not
no
abate,
action.
they did not abate taxes, though?
There was no abatement.
I'd
There was no
have
vote.
to see the minutes.
There was no-
I thought there was a partial abatement.
I don't recall any vote taken that was on that.
My question that goes along with that is, does anybody else have the authority to do that? Abate taxes?
I've been told no.
And what legal consequences are there if we head down that road?
It would not be accepted, because the Board of Abatement is the only body, of which we're a part of, 5. The listers, the town clerk, there's a list of people that are involved with the treasurer, maybe. The board, yeah, maybe, Justice of the Peace, could be. But that's a state list for every town.
You know, if we could turn the clock back, we would have done it different. But however, we got ourselves backed into a corner now, and we have to make a decision one way or the other.
But even so, the proposal that may go to the Board of Abatement would demand the criteria by the resident to put forward their financial status and ability to not pay. That's the criteria. There's only 7 of them.
Right.
As the formal final ending of this, that's what would happen. To provide equality for all of the landowners. I mean, we did it down here, I can't remember, there were 2 girls over there, right? Over there where they bought a house and it was all like a wreck, and they gave all the reasons why, and they gave their financial condition.
Yep.
And we took action. I don't know. Does the board want to take any action tonight? I know we've heard comment after comment, month after month. I'm swearing I'm not taking, I'm not gonna swear, but I'm not gonna take this off, I'm not gonna take this off. This is my
legacy.
Yep, we're gonna
Not gonna
finish.
go away.
We're gonna finish it, though. I'm not gonna, 2020 may be a bad year, but I'm not gonna stop having this on the agenda until we finish.
I'm in favor of getting to the forest, but I'm struggling with the same thing you're struggling with, Dave, and that's being fair to people who have had their houses or property taken and sold through the.
If I don't know if we can, I don't know if it's appropriate, because I don't think the select board has any jurisdiction over this. I think the Board of Abatement does. The Board of Abatement could certainly ask the Abbott attorney for their financial documents to come up with a decision. That's going to happen if it gets to that table. I don't know, I don't think that we do, because we're not purchasing it outright. Part of this package, remember, is getting rid of a significant amount of money. Did you have a question, Paul?
Just letting you know it's 9:29.
Are there any other comments for this for tonight? I don't want to put it on the agenda for November 30th. We've already gotten fire departments, so the next time we take this up probably will be December. I don't have a calendar in front of me. Isn't it like maybe the 7th or the 2nd or something?
December.
Whatever.
First
meeting in December.
First meeting in December.
1st and 15th, I think. Oh, maybe that's.
Can I ask one question though on,
Yes.
on this? If we push it down, what other questions are we gonna need, do we want answers to? What other things are we gonna look for in the meantime?
There's no more information.
No, there's no more information. I just think that this is gonna, it could be preparing for the Board of Abatement hearing as finality or something like that. I just thought of asking myself this about, but we can't. We can't direct like Mike Stankovich to prepare to get ready, because they would do that if this board authorized us to ask the Board of Abatement for a hearing or a meeting.
Well, you can rest assured at that meeting, we're probably the only ones, the 5 of us, that have a clue what's going on.
But Brandon has compressed this into these first few pages.
Yes, I mean, I'm not saying they'll be totally in the dark, but
Right.
as far as history and where we got to where we are now, it's gonna be the 5 of us.
Right.
Particularly you and me, because we both were there at 14.
Right. And maps are very handy, and I gotta tell you, when I walked on the property the other day, when we had the engineer up there, that was even better for me, because, you know, when you're walking around something, it's a better feel. Yes. Is the board okay just leaving this until the first meeting in December?
Oh, sure.
Joey?
No, but yes, there's nothing else to be gained. There's nothing else to be had. Brandon's given us everything, and
It's either to make the motion to go to the Board of Abatement or to have a tax sale.
Yeah,
Those are the
that's
two
where we're
motions
at.
that are gonna be the options.
not everybody's going to be happy with either of them.
Right, because I don't necessarily agree with Willis, because I think there are individuals, I think maybe somebody will step forward if it went to a tax sale, and the outcome would be the same, where the town would be, which is what I was hoping for all along, the town would be made whole, the access would be there, the deeds would stay.
Yeah, I'm feeling like even if you approached a new landowner, say it does go to tax sale, say somebody buys it, is there a possibility still to have an easement through this land?
You won't know until that day comes.
You won't know, and the other part is that the tax sale is just simply starting the clock. And we won't prepare, we would never be able to prepare a tax sale, I don't think, given the budget things. I mean, we're looking at like, I don't even know, like January or February, and then after that, there's 12 months on top of that. So you're looking at like 14 months before any finality would come, even if you went down to the last day of a tax sale.
And with the number that we're looking at, it's a possibility the town's bid for the full amount, maybe the one that ends out owning it in a year.
That could be.
You won't know.
Not yet. Did you have a question, Brandon?
Then we'll own the whole thing.
We'd have access.
Then, yes, then they own the whole thing. God bless America.
So, what does the select board need from my team for under report number 8?
Nothing.
$100,000.
Nothing.
So we're
A magic
looking at this
wand.
There's
no good
kind of my
solution.
question is, where else are we going to go with this? We have to do something. We have to.
Make a motion.
Yeah, I make a motion to support option 2 and go forward with a tax sale. That's where I stand.
Is there a second to the motion? Motion been made to support option number 2.
Second for discussion.
Motion been made and seconded to use option number 2. That is a tax sale. Any discussion?
We've been here before.
We've been here before. It was here on, and then it got tabled for like 3 meetings.
I'm going to make a brief statement that the town had a responsibility, and once again, it goes back several town managers, and we had a town manager that wasn't being very diligent in tax collection. I think the current policy that we have is in a way much more fair, because it doesn't let people get so damn far behind that there's not a prayer of catching up. Joey and I had the conversation, I think we ought to look comprehensively at the interest rates that we charge. You probably could put it on your credit card cheaper than what we charge. So I think the town had a responsibility for letting her get into the situation she was in. She didn't know about current use. Not our problem, but nonetheless, she didn't know about current use. She didn't know about income sensitivity, both of which, what's her tax bill now? About 800, something like that?
I'm not sure what
Anyway, a fraction of what it was.
Right.
And she's kept current. And to do this to a citizen, I'll vote no if we have a vote, when we have a vote.
The problem I run into is that, what are we gonna do next time this happens? It's inevitably gonna happen again, to somebody.
Did we lose signal?
Oh, thank you.
There's battery around.
Battery? Well, I don't want
Mine's going dead too.
I don't want to.
We need a motion to extend.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you need to plug back in because
I'll
are
make
they?
a motion to extend the meeting 15 minutes.
We're gonna table everything else.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do you wanna wait to get plugged back
Just give
in?
me like, maybe like 30 seconds.
Maybe password.
Here, that thing is locked down.
Oh, yeah.
Willis is still awake.
Hey,
Willis, we didn't lose you. Oh,
hey,
maybe
Willis, can
I
you
saw
see
his
us?
eyes move.
can't hear us.
Willis?
Uh-oh.
We're not muted.
Can you hear us, Willis?
Mess with.
Can you guys
Yep.
hear me?
Yep. Now we
Yep.
can.
Just now.
I can't hear anything. I was listening to John's eloquent speech and then the sound died, so I don't know how it ended.
Okay,
Now you're back.
good. Can you hear us now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good, thanks. John just said no.
Call the question.
Yes. The motion been made and seconded to support option number 2. Does call the question mean you can't comment anymore?
Yes. But
Listen to you.
That would have required a vote.
calling the question requires a vote.
Yeah.
2/3.
So I was just, never mind.
So you're gonna take back the call the question? Or you
There's
wanna
no-
keep it?
there's
You
no-
wanna vote? Call a
Yes.
vote? You wanna call a vote? God, I wanted to comment. All those in favor of supporting option number, the motion was option number 2, is that correct?
Yes, that's a complete
Option,
text, so.
all those in favor of supporting option number 2, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay.
Okay, it's at least 2 to 1,
And silence.
1 to 2. 1 to 2. I'm gonna wait until the first meeting in December, but I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do, because I can't comment now, so if the vote is over, I'll vote no.
It can be voted again.
I'll vote no. So it's 2 to 2. Tie
Oh,
goes,
gee.
tie goes
Oh,
down,
No, I said no. He said no.
Yeah.
You said no.
yes.
2 to 2?
Okay,
3 to 1.
okay, yes,
No, it's 3 to 1.
sorry.
You're off the hook,
Yeah,
Mike.
it's 3 to 1. I was gonna say, I didn't think it was 2 to 2. It's 3 to 1.
Now it really won't matter, because it's 3 to 1. Now, here's what I wanna do, one last comment on the subject. If this goes to a package to the Board of Abatement, I will firmly ask for a financial condition of the property and find out whether the assets will cover the amount that's owed to the town. And then if I had that document in front of me, I would have changed my vote. I would have gone to the tax sale had I had the information. So I'll take it up there. And if the Board of Abatement votes to abate it, I'm gonna take it up further, because I don't think it's right to have assets left over even from a document that I was involved with, because I didn't know that information at the time that I made that decision. That's where I'm gonna be at right now, after studying this for months.
Aye.
And I would ask,
Moving
I would,
smoothly along. Are you done?
Hey, Olivia, you're all set. You can go home.
Okay.
Get some sleep. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Willis, thank you.
Thank you, Willis.
so there's, so the story continues, at least for 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
The beat goes on.
I'm moving for all the other discussion here. Do you have a report here, or can we just, go ahead, quickly?
I don't need to do my town manager report, however, there are four.
Amen.
However, what?
Hey, come on.
Well, but we're not trying to dump on you, it's just the hour. I mean, we seem to get bogged down in these difficult decisions, like, over and over. It's not that we don't want to hear your report.
No, I love the report,
I
but I can
withdraw
read
that
it.
statement. I actually think I'm gonna go ahead and give a town manager report tonight.
You what?
The board is like, no. I would like to do item number 11. I have 4 budget questions. Patrick and I are, and the new executive assistant to finance are going to be working on FY22 budget over the next several weeks before the next select board meeting. Can we take that up tonight?
Yep.
So I have 4 questions for the board, and each are supported, or some of them are supported in attachments to kind of show a pay scale. It's a pay scale data. The first question I have for the board is our transfer station attendance. Is the select board interested in employing any additional personnel at the transfer station? The second, I received a letter of support from the Planning Commission to move the land use administrator back to full-time. Question number 3, the town assessor. When we discussed this in the previous select board meeting, I didn't get any firm answer from the board. I received a comment from John Harrison, one from Joey Jarvis, a yes from Mike Todd. Paul didn't comment, and I didn't receive anything from him.
Can we take these up one by one, though?
Yeah, I'm just giving you like an overview.
Okay, go ahead.
And then we'll hit them one by one. So we didn't get anything from the town assessor, so I don't know where to go with that. And then fire department, finance. You want to take up the first one?
Yeah, so let's go to number 1.
Okay.
Let's go around the horn. So the number 1 was what? Transfer station, adding people to work at the transfer station?
Yes.
Let's go around the table, and it's just simply say yes or no. Do you want to add, Paul, do you want to add to the attendance?
I need to understand some more about what's going on there, but I'm gonna weigh towards yes.
Mike?
I'm not sure I know enough about the operations and functions over there. But I support the town manager in what he views his needs are.
Okay, me, no. And,
No.
and the reason I say that is because I know that other facilities have virtually no help there, and we need to look at them for situations. And I also know that the highway is spending time there, and they always have, and to offset some things. But I take, what's the guy's name? It's a long night already. The guy that's helping you from Pembroke?
Oh, Patrick.
I take him at his really strong word when he says, just because you've been doing things like the same thing over and over again, doesn't mean you can't change. And I'm taking that philosophy right to the transfer station. So you would know too?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So the next one up.
All right, land use administrator, full-time or part-time. As you've seen in the budget to actuals, the land use administrator is over hours. I did receive a letter of support from the Planning Commission to move him to full-time, so I just need to see for budgeting purposes whether or not that's acceptable with the board.
Same thing, Paul.
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Hey, no.
No.
Yes.
To go to full-time. Everybody says full-time. They heard that, right? Not just additional hours.
We got a comprehensive list of what other towns are doing with their listers. We need the same information. I'm not convinced that our town is that unique that it requires a full-time position.
Of land use?
Yeah.
Oh, you just said listers.
Yeah, you said listers, you mixed.
Oh,
And use.
I apologize.
So, can I make one comment?
So does that
on
mean your vote's still the same?
Yes.
Just one quick comment on that. What I'd like to do is not necessarily look at other towns right now. I'd like to look at what our town is, the needs of our town, what is not getting done, what could get done, and so on and so forth. I see exactly what you mean by looking at other towns, but I'd like to start with our own first.
Here's what I want the board to remember when they're answering all these questions. Well, the solid waste is a little different because it's a fee-based fund. Any of these other decisions, though, you need to be keenly aware of this. Almost all of the questions come into the general fund, okay? General fund is short right now by 60,000. So when you're telling him, or whoever the three says they would like to move up land use to full-time, remember at the end of the budget process when you're making those moves, because you're prioritizing right now, picking winners and losers. So somebody's gonna have to, if you don't wanna raise taxes, somebody's gonna have to fall. Just remember that.
But tonight's discussion.
But he's
Tonight's
not,
discussion is not about, yes, we're gonna hire somebody full-time.
well, but you're
It's just-
directing him to
You're asking-
formulating
it's gonna-
the,
The budget he's gonna hand in front
that's
of
right,
us.
for us to be looking at.
And then, and when we're gonna look at the budget and say, that ain't gonna work.
Yeah,
if-
I don't
if
wanna make
that's
it
the
go-
case-
He's already running
Why
around in
waste his
circles.
time?
I don't see that as a waste of time,
As of
creating a
right,
budget.
as of right now, I don't know if it's a waste of time because it's 3 against 2, so,
Yeah, but it went for the
Good point.
positive.
sorry. but-
Thank you.
Sorry.
It went for the positive.
Yes,
No, I know, that's what I'm saying. It's
I know,
not
but
a-
his hair's already purple.
next.
I want you to be on record,
Hey.
you're running for reelection.
3-2.
Yeah.
Put it in the budget.
Go, next subject.
Item number 3, town assessor. We discussed this back in July, on July 20th. We reviewed the town assessor. Ed Morris brought this forward, then Sven brought it forward, then I brought it forward, and now here we are. So, what is the board's opinion on a town assessor?
Paul?
Yes.
Yes,
Me? You gave us a comprehensive package of comparisons. I would like to see that presented. And I'm open to options. So whether an assessor is the answer, a dual role is some, I don't really know the answer, so I'm okay looking at anything. I'm looking at anything to consolidate whatever that offers. You compared to 118 towns in that capacity of what was doing.
Yeah, it's under attachment D. So if anybody'd like to.
I'm open to listening. John?
The line item that we had is very close to what an assessor would cost, so I think if we leave the line item intact, we'll be within shooting distance of making a decision whether to leave the system the same or hire an assessor.
Joey?
I'm sorry, was that a
Was
yes?
that yes or no?
That was it.
Yeah, both of you.
No, I'm not making an opinion one way or
Oh,
the
no,
other
I'm-
whether
yes,
to go to
I'm
the
okay
assessor.
with
I'm saying
listening.
leave the line item alone, and that, so we can complete the discussion.
Oh, that.
I think eventually we're gonna go to an assessor.
Okay. Here's my thought process, and some of these things, when we get the data that Brandon furnishes us, why are we second, and that's where we were, out of that function of the town, out of 118 towns? Okay, but he gave us all the
We're
towns in
rich.
Vermont. So, but I would feel the same way if we did, which I hope he does, if we looked at another thing, like, I don't even know, like his office. You know, why are we number 2, like in the town manager, out of 118
118 on
towns?
that one.
That question would.
Or not, but.
No, but I would have the same question. Joey, did you?
Yes.
Okay. Next one up. That was it? The last one, was that?
fire
Fire
department.
department.
Oh, fire
finance.
department. So define that. What does that mean? Fire
So
de-
just to be clear, under number 3, we have a 4, and then we have, and you didn't, so we have 4 board members that are looking to go forward with the town assessor. Okay. Item number 4, fire department finance. We currently handle all budgeting for the West Weathersfield Fire Department. The reason this is important is because the way that I'm seeing the budget in our budget document is what they have is our allocations. So say, you know, your allocation's $30,000. It's just shown as an allocation. So I record budget to actuals for every other department, but this is, it's just one number. It's kind of like, hey, highway department, here's $1 million, and we don't know the expenses that you're paying for. It's recorded differently. So I'd like to move forward with a budget document similar to the other budget documents here, where we create lines for their expenses, and then we can show, you know, where the money's going, like we're doing for all of the departments. So I was wondering if the board's also interested in doing that. It would require, I mean, West Weathersfield, he does have a separate budget document outside of this. So it's like you have the number, and then from that number, it goes over to another document, which is similar to the other departments. So we'd also have to get a Scutney on board with that.
Have you asked either fire department about this? Because I'm a little reluctant to talk about them because we had the meeting on the November 30th, so.
Maybe we move this to the 30th, this question.
I'd be okay with that.
The only comment would be that just a few years ago, we started consolidating some of the categories. I'm not saying it needs to be a lump sum, but we got rid of like $100, $2, $300, $400 line items as much as possible and consolidated them somewhat when Ed was here.
So but
now if we start spreading it back out again.
So I guess my comment to the, whatever, when you say fire department finance would be this. Are you talking about, because my goal would be in totality. I don't want 2 sets of books. I don't want 3 different lines for one item or whatever. I would really like to see some simplicity and
Yeah, I'd like
one
yes.
income and expense statement.
And I'd like it to be the same structure as all of the departments. So I figured while Patrick and I are going through the budget for FY22 and we're building it from the bottom up, why not get both fire departments into this budget format so that it flows throughout all departments in town?
I'd like to learn, because the question I'll ask is, you know, our budget for fire is somewhere around $170,000.
Correct.
So 40 of that was a truck payment. It just seems like such a giant struggle to try to worm our way through 130,000, but I don't know that that's in totality of what both departments are running with. We could get a major league surprise from both of them. They could be like having money somewhere that both we don't know about. That's
But you're getting into the weeds of the budget itself, when the question is just, are we going to handle them both the same or not?
That's right.
Yeah. And it would be yes.
Off on a tangent.
It would be yes. Okay, that's it, we finished, right? We are gonna take up fire for contract and budget discussions on the 30th of November. Everybody wanna meet at 6:30?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Boy, that was fast. Can you write that down, Brandon?
Got it.
So,
We have to warn it for that?
yes,
6:30, yeah.
everything's gotta be warned.
No, I know, I didn't know.
Then
we already-
wasn't, did I miss something where we were gonna talk, oh, we were gonna talk about healthcare too, so 6:30 is very good.
Healthcare first?
Doesn't matter, whatever, I don't, yeah, probably, because we'll be, yes, because we'll go healthcare at 6:30 to 7, and then 7 will be the fire, yes. You have a question?
So the agenda, I think it's really neat that you decided to have a special meeting for fire department contracts. And when I was thinking, I would have talked to you before the meeting, but I was thinking about this a little bit.
But you didn't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What about making the agenda flow with the contract? So for example, each agenda item is a different section of the contract, so that gives the board the ability to go section by section and then vote on those sections as agenda items.
It's okay with me, as long as you don't have 27 of them.
No. It's shorter.
Each gets a half an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, would the board think that would be productive?
The only downside to that I see is sometimes you're putting your thumb or spotlight or finger or something on something that we might just go right by and not have to talk about.
Yep.
You know? So you could end up talking about all 27.
We'll talk about it,
Lines.
but we got time to warn a meeting, because they're not for 2 weeks.
I think there's only like, what, 12 sections? So even if, section 1 was an easy one, and you guys just vet section 1, that tells me section 1's good. And it targets which sections we really need to work on.
Is it us that needs to be in agreement with this at this point in time, or is it still the
No, it's us that
departments?
needs to make a decision on lots of things,
But,
motions.
what he's saying, though, is us being in agreement. I've seen in the past, it did better if the board was in agreement, and it comes down to what the departments are agreeing to. That's what all I'm saying.
Yeah, but I think we've talked about it long enough where we can say, listen, we recognize that we're not gonna force anything to happen, because forcing is not working. And so, but that doesn't mean that we can't come to agreement here between the 5 of us and say that we can have an umbrella saying that we're gonna work under one financial ship. There really is. There really isn't any reason why we can't do that. Let's go to warrants.
Make a motion to approve warrant articles for November 16th, 2020. General fund payroll, $12,737.58. Operating, $25,347.45. Highway payroll, $7,319.36. Operating, $4,416.52. Solid waste payroll, $1,526.55. Operating, $14,962.32. Library payroll, $1,919.35. Total payroll, $23,502.84. Operating, $44,726.29.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the warrants dated November 16th, 2020. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Brandon, I see on the agenda here, are we gonna jeopardize stuff by not taking up where it says transfer station permit sticker policy, second reading?
Not really. I mean, it's been on the agenda. We tabled it. We have a joint committee meeting tomorrow night with the other 2 towns. So I think we're presenting the same policy to them, as well as going over a few other things. So,
This requires 3 readings, right?
Yeah, but I'm just thinking if we've already read the first one and it was put on the warning here.
Any
for the
changes?
Second reading.
I think it's kind of worked out, because now we're going to meet with them tomorrow, see what they think about
So
it.
do we just kind of like authorize it to go to the 3rd reading?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
What happened?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to let the transfer station permit sticker policy go to the 3rd reading. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. I don't need any other business. Is there any update on the Tenny Tree? I mean, they want to chop it down.
Yeah, we really need to schedule a meeting, you and I and the state. They've requested a meeting. We didn't attend the last one. On accident.
They want to take it down before snow.
Do it.
I know that, but they were upset that we would be upset.
We're not upset.
No, I know, but I'm just
Dead.
saying that's
Has the committee weighed in on it?
I don't know that
Ginger
this.
has.
And they're okay?
Yeah.
I didn't hear any more, and I didn't want to go down any
Authorize the
road
town-
that might involve.
You want a motion to authorize the town manager to contact the state?
No, because they've contacted us.
Okay.
They wanted to meet with us to see what our feelings were.
Our feelings are okay.
Now that we have your feeling, okay.
That's my last one.
I just brought that up because I know there's been.
Connor.
No, but they have, I wanted to be on the record.
Save
because
the wood, like we talked about.
I didn't know what Ginger or what they were talking about. I didn't know if they were going down to this big or whether they were going down to 6 feet.
That's to be decided.
I didn't know. I threw it out there.
Tell her I got a saw.
You all done, Brandon? You don't need us any more action?
What's the motion to adjourn?
Second.
Hold on. You have,
I gave the board some information in an envelope.
Yes.
I didn't you guys want to do a quick executive session on that, or is that okay?
On what?
Is there a need to?
What category?
It's reorganization, showing the board where we currently are.
Does it qualify for executive session?
It does under contracts.
You have a contract? Do you want to do it tonight? How long is it gonna take?
It'll just be a second.
I'm honoring the town manager, I would honor anybody. If you come to me and say you need an executive session for personnel, we're gonna do it.
It's not on the agenda either.
I know.
Doesn't need to be. Executive session doesn't have to be on the agenda. I don't know how that ever got started, but it doesn't. Anyway. Motion for executive session?
Is there a second?
Can you state the reason why?
Brandon just said contract.
PSA 1, 313, contracts or what?
I was gonna make it up. He just said contract.
Contracts or what?
Yeah, contracts and services.
Not a contract.
I don't know what he wants. Is there a second to executive session?
Not yet.
I'll second it.
Motion been made and seconded, executive session for contract. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Sorry, Brandon?
I have no idea.
I'm just trying to